In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what draws behind the curtain, the face of evil smirking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising and hearts are compromising, convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances and be sure to take your stances. Furious never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest and the righteous in your corners. In the den of iniquity, vicinity no pretty, calamity fi hit we any moment, what a pity. Tomorrow never certain, what draws behind the curtain, the face of evil smirking with the shifty eyes averting. It's not a steady bubble, that either pop or topple, many will fall and stumble, let the dozers gather rubble. From LA to Colorado, Guinea to Burkina Faso, cannon could reach the towers and the troops will storm the castle. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. With the rubble steady rising and hearts are compromising, convictions here are stifling, making evil appetizing. The fists are steady forming and countenance is falling. Defenses are withdrawing, possibilities are falling. In these your circumstances, evil will make advances. Pick up your sword and lances and be sure to take your stances. Victory is never promised, the battle is upon us. Gather the brave and honest and the righteous in your corners. Go. Run, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run for the hills, let the will lead the mind. For living is the thrill with the doubt left behind. Amidst all the wreckage, there is beauty to behold. We are fearless and intrepid from the depths of our soul. The hands of the steady cleave the rose from the thorn. The sweat of the weary brings us close to the dawn. The motion of the wheel brings the light to the mind. And in the line, it's divine. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, they come forget it. I say, run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. Lord, run, come, make we get it. Calling on your daughters and your sons, we come forget it. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated. So run, come, make we get it. Calling all your daughters and your sons, we can't forget it. Run, come, make we get it. Because the peace that is bestowed upon the meek is overrated, Lord. Run, come, make we get it. Calling out just after sun, just as we go this way.
One, two.
Shout out. Are you over there checking your mic, Jay Ibrahim? Is that what we caught you doing?
Shout out.
You contending with chaos? Are you losing the battle? Shout out to Young Swift in the house. Shout out to Aaron B in the house. You see, one of the ways we deal with chaos is we click up, right? We gang up. We say, hey, I'm not with the go along to get along crowd. I'm with Kwame Brown, or I'm with whomever else, right? That indeed is one of the ways we deal with chaos. What is chaos? Chaos is out there in these streets. Chaos is unfamiliar territory. Chaos is when you first leave your mom's house and go to kindergarten or something and see those unfamiliar faces and those people whom you cannot predict. You see, the whole time we're out here trying to deal with chaos. And you have to give me a second now while I address something. Let me see. Run. I got the intro. I got this. What else do I have over here? What else do I have over here? The toll road, perhaps. Okay. Give me 1 second, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about the chaos and dealing with chaos. How people join groups to deal with chaos. How people fragment themselves and each other in order to deal with the chaos, in order to feel a sense of comfort and predictability, right? Who's right? Who's wrong? What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Give me a second here. I travel by night and I travel by day. I feel the breeze, I feel the call, and I see the gravel and the grass by the way. I hear birds and they're mating call. The toll on the road, it's a small price to pay. Small price to pay for the saving of the race. And so I say, aye. People, what you waiting for? Take one and leave one and take it to go. Make a decision and get on the road. Open your vision for the sun to shine on. Bamboo and acorn and a letter I wrote. Big ones and small ones and a pipe for a toe. The rhythms of time is the horse I ride on. Yes. And I travel by day. Feel the breeze, I feel the call, and I see the gravel and the grass by the way. I hear birds. You saw that in the chat. R.I.P. Lee Scratch Perry. Is Lee gone? Did I miss that? May have to do a cappella session for him then, if that is indeed the case. If that is indeed the case. Shout out, ladies and gentlemen. I travel by night and I travel by day. Feel the breeze, I feel the call. And I see the gravel and the grass by the way. I hear birds and their mating call. The toll on the road is a small price to pay. a small price to pay for the saving of the race. And so I say, people, what you waiting for? Sha-na-na-na, no. Sha-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na, no. Travel by night, and I travel by day. Word 'em up, word 'em up. Peace to Art New Style in the house. I figured today being a holiday of sorts, a day when people will be available around, perhaps in a frame of mind whereby you can muse a little bit. You can kind of look at things for what they are and say, hey, what am I doing out here in this life, anyways? If you're going to ask that kind of a question, if you're going to get philosophical, perhaps it is a day like this. Isn't that where the holy days were made for? Days when one considers the profound, the fundamental, the godly, the holy, if you will. Shout out to the unspecialist in the house. Shout out, shout out, shout out. So, in that spirit, we're here to muse, to think, to sing, to sound, and apparently to impromptu give some verses. Maybe you guys want to come up here and challenge my freestyle skills. Maybe we got to we got to drop a beat. Maybe we need to drop a beat. Maybe I need to find one of these lo-fi copyright free lo-fi beats, and then maybe Young Swift can hop in the cipher and we can go off the dome. Ain't that right, blind guy, his wife, their life? Ain't that right? Ain't that right? Show enough. We have Leroy in the house. Can't rap? Come on, man. Come on. But speaking of that though, let me see if I can find, because last time I put a beat in the background while I was going on, which is something that Art New Style, shout out to Art New Style, I know he kind of does as well. So let me see if I can find something, right? There you go. Free lo-fi hip hop beats. Yeah, I think I was here. Let's check this one out. Space Kitchen podcast. The Space Kitchen. What gets cooked in the Space Kitchen? That's very interesting. Would you mind sharing with us, sir, some of the recipes that come from the Space Kitchen? Do you cook in space or are you cooking up space? Are you like the god of space, And you and Kronos, the god of time, conspire to bring things about. Let me see what's going on with this lo-fi station. I'm not logged into I gotta log into the right one so I don't get the ads. That is correct, isn't it? I should do some logging in so I don't get the ads. Shout out to you, ladies and gentlemen. Contending with chaos is what we are out here to do. Contending with chaos is where the rubber meets the road, right? Dealing with the unfamiliar, getting out of that cocoon. Some people call about thinking outside the box, getting outside your comfort zone, pushing the envelope, growing up, stop being a bitch ass nigga. Whatever it is you may call it, right? Whatever it is you may call it, the idea is to contend with and to deal with chaos. The idea is to go out there and to conquer. The idea is to get things done. And there are many excuses that people give for why they should not think about this or contend with it. Many excuses indeed, ladies and gentlemen, but we're taking it easy. We're taking it easy while I sign into this account here so that I don't get the ads on the lo-fi beat that I'm going to be playing in the background, that at least going to attempt to play in the background. Many scenes, many times, many faces, many drives, many lines, many races, many goals, many themes, many interests, from the most subtle down to the simplest. Many men have raised many armies, mutual friends of noble monarchies. In due time, the nations will boil out, undue privileges will burn out. We abide with the forces of stillness, the only force that will bring us fulfillment. The people fussing and fighting for payroll, the people living their lives like a fable. Word them up, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Nice little password. And let us see what becometh of it. Supervisors and tyrants we trust not. Wisdom will put them in a tough spot. We're attracting the cycle of ancients, rhythmically breaking free from enslavement. Word them up, 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 word them up. So I think I'm signed in there. And as we come in the chat, please go ahead and click the like button. Click the like button. Perhaps share the stream as well. Contend with the chaos. Contend with the chaos. How do people deal with the contending with the chaos? People find an identity, right? They say, I am this kind of a person. I am the son of my father, of the of the Edo tribe. And we have order. We have a way. We have something I can point to. We have something solid, right? I can feel rooted. I can feel like I'm part of the, Kwame Brown team or the go along to get along team in order to deal with the chaos. But really, chaos is the common thing everybody is running away from. The common thing that everybody is using to fight everyone else with. We get into addictions to deal with chaos, right? We get into addictions to. Is your audio okay, sir?
I believe so.
You believe so? Is that Nigerian internet, or wherever are you in East Africa now, or what's going on with your African internet today?
Some of the children are playing some video games, so the bandwidth has been reduced.
Video games, reduced bandwidth, chaos out there. So we've been musing as people have been coming in. Shout out to Gail Lockett in the house. Okay. We've been musing as people have been coming in. Today is a holiday. Perfect day for this kind of a thing. And I've just been saying that chaos is that one thing that we all have to deal with, whether we call it growing up, expanding the horizon, pushing the envelope, thinking outside the box, whatever it may be, that thing that leads to growth, where the results are, going out on the limb to get the fruit. It's all about this unknown chaos, unpredictability. And most of human activities, right? Social, the reason why people go to certain YouTube chats and say certain things is all it's all to kind of satisfy this desire to contend with chaos, to hide from chaos, or whatever it may be, right?
People are trying too hard.
People are trying too hard to, okay. You got the floor, you got the mic, as Bernard Riley would say. You think they're trying too hard with this chaos thing? Okay, let's ask something, okay? I'm a stutterer now.
I would make fun of you, but then I don't want to stutter.
Well, Abba and Preach, okay, their channel, right? In the review of they do a lot of their content is review content, okay, and we've just established that most of the human story is contending with chaos. Now, this is a channel that actually does something, or we can look at the content in a way, in the sense that they tend to make order or make sense of things, right? They look at something that's out there and they say, no, this is how it actually makes sense. Would you agree that, that's kind of what they're doing out there, trying to give people some kind of predictability, a warm blanket per se, or maybe a harsh reality, right? But to kind of give some order out there to the chaos to contend with it somewhat. Correct?
That's what they believe that they're doing. And that is how their ego has manifested. They believe that they're producing this service to everyone, giving young men and women a little bit of stability in order for them to account and contend with being with their real selves. However, we are all to some level lying to ourselves, creating stories that if you flipped it, you'd realize that we are just contradicting ourselves. Abba, the other time, talked about integrity, and I do believe that he is a man of good integrity. However, to dismiss the realities of how other people may have to not be so integral to their true selves, whatever that means, in order to succeed, is in itself just having a certain place in the hierarchy and him perpetuating that power that he has had, which ultimately is not so virtuous.
Okay. I think it was said before at some point that integrity perhaps is a luxury. So, and that you need to consider, let me use the language of the day, check your privilege when you talk about having integrity. In the sense that, hey, if this Robin Hood character from the hood, right, has to, in other words, his story is going to be different. The obstacles he needs to go through are going to be very different. If he needs to do certain things which you consider non-integral, to put it your way, and are to are beneath you, or kind of take away from his his soul, the sanctity of his soul, that he's not going to go to heaven anymore because he did these things, to come out from the hood. But the thing is, well, he did not have the privilege of not having to make certain choices, right? And conversely, you had the privilege to not have had to make certain choices. Is that an aspect of what you're saying here? That it is a privilege to talk about, your attempt to contend with chaos. You start talking about principles, right? But you need to understand that principles sometimes are privileges. Is that what you're saying?
Not sometimes. Principles are privileges. By definition, principle is something that is instilled in you from a certain age or perspective. So if you have it, then it is a privilege that you have it. Otherwise, you would not be able to develop such a refined state of principle. I don't like the idea that we judge those kids who grow up in the inner cities of certain places by those who grew up with middle class, two parents, and the ability to believe if they work hard, they will have someone to push them to succeed. I don't believe in judging those who have turned to crime, for example. It is pointless and it's immoral for me to judge them based on where I came from, unless I know myself that if I was in the same situation, I would be able to make the same decisions as I would now.
Okay, I like that. Okay, I like that, and I hope I understand what I'm hearing. I hope I understand it, what I claim to like. um, can one like which one doesn't understand? Can I just say, "Oh, that sounds good" right now? This is a side question, but what do you think about that? Like, can I just like it, but not even know what the hell you're talking about?
You can take it from your own perspective. You could have an understanding because what I've said has so many different layers. You can analyze the top layer, but maybe you don't get to the core, but you still know enough to make it make sense to your own
Hmm.
prism.
100%. So, in its simplest form, what you said was, "Hey," to repeat literally, right? If you got those principles and you got that training, and even if it's a question of maybe genetics slash personality that you have, okay, that makes it such that you're going to find certain things easy. If you got it, it's a privilege because it's not equally distributed to everybody, right? Not everybody grew up in the family you grew up in, was had the privilege of being told this is right, this is wrong, had the privilege of having your personal constitution, DNA, whatever it may be, and then being perhaps in a cocoon such that you were sheltered from certain choices, right?
Correct. Because if you really think about what is behind every single human, is that we all want to be loved at a particular narrative. We want to be able to put ourselves in a situation where we are beloved. We are seen as the CEO. The feminist will go and fight those who they believe have everything, but they will ignore the majority of men who do not have anything. Instead, they'll be focusing on the top. We all want not to remove unfairness, but to be at the tipping scale of the unfairness so that we and our children or our legacies can then be able to manifest and get the best from it. We are not moral creatures, not at the slightest. Morality is a consequence of order.
Hmm. Morality is a consequence of order, not the other way around. We don't establish order based on our morality. O- Order is just a thing that could be arbitrarily you could play chess or you could play checkers. The morality of chess is different from the morality of checkers. But the order is arbitrary. The game is arbitrary. The game comes first. Order comes first, and then you have these rules of the land, rules of the game, and you may call those morality. No, yes, definitely, because I think we were having a conversation on this channel about, shall we say, the racist aspects of beauty standards. I don't know if you're familiar with that one, Jay Ibrahim. Are you familiar with the racism oh, the colorism, right, associated with what people find beautiful? And at the end of the day, I think we agreed, we Gail Lockett, Young Swift, everyone agreed that you just want to be on the billboard. The person that's complaining that their standard of beauty is not what's on the billboard or the front of the magazine, they just want to be the person in the magazine, right? Ain't that right, Gail? You just want to be in the magazine. Everybody wants to be the standard. Everybody wants to be the person who has the power. And that is not by any means morality. Okay. That's what we all want to do. That's what people claim, though, when they're doing some kind of some kind of a silly moral dance. Usually it's about some kind of other order of power that they're trying to establish. But let me back up and just say that I think I get you when you say that it is the morality that comes out of the order. It's not the order that the order is primary, right? We don't go around creating order because we're moral. It's something else. Or have I misunderstood again?
You did not misunderstand at the first time either, but I think this is correct. If you look at how humans create any system, I want to get the job as a lawyer or as an engineer getting paid 200,000 a year, not because I want everyone to get paid this much, especially if I understand that if I get paid this much and everybody gets paid this much, then the money becomes useless. I want to enter through the barrier so that I can earn this much, maintain the system, and create a high barrier to entry to this position because it's about me. It's not about the fairness. It's about the fact that I cannot get into it. Fairness
Okay.
is not primary. Fairness is only there if you're considering the stability of the country. If something becomes too unfair, people will revolt, and that will then destroy the community. If
Mhm.
the rich and the poor divide is too big, there will be a revolution. We've seen this in France and many other countries, all over African countries, Middle Eastern countries. Unfairness leads to revolt.
Mhm.
So
Unfairness
morality is
leads
a
to revolt.
consequence.
Yeah. Yes. 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 We do have desired states. Presumably, revolt is undesirable in certain, given certain alternatives. and then fairness becomes a concern because you don't want your head cut off, right?
Exactly.
Because okay, not necessarily because you're fair. So Abba stood there and talked about integrity. Okay, that's one particular aspect of what he says that you bring up, right? Now, generally speaking, as we said, we're all trying to contend with chaos out here, create order, and then out of that emerges a set of, shall we say, principles, and that these principles you call them privileges, and you're saying that basically, if you're standing up at the top of the hill and you're telling people, why don't you just ignore the flooding down there? And it's like, dude, you're on the hill. Your house is not getting flooded, right? You're just getting rained on. It's slightly inconvenient for you too. But you have a big hill, you have all this money, you have all this status, whatever it may be, all this privilege, right? And we sound postmodernist, right? In other words, we are being true postmodernists, aren't we?
Correct. Because I'm not so sure if the audience know what postmodernism is, but to be a true postmodernist is to understand that everything is relative. We create relative situations that we can then thrive from. We're not here trying to create some perfect states that everyone can thrive from. In fact, I believe, and I use the word believe in this case because I believe it will happen. But when it comes to human civilization, the next step is communism, a form of communism. Forget Marxism or any other form which has been taught to us. Humanity is moving slowly towards the state whereby they will realize that why is it that some have a lot and some do not? This state does not make sense at any level of fairness. So humanity will reach a place where capitalism would only be there for the elites. Those who are doing extraterrestrial travel, monopolizing other planets to bring in the goods, they will have high rankings as form of payment and access to traveling. The rest of us, or should I say the rest of other, will be on here just living their lives as equals.
Okay, so you're gonna have a pen over here of regular human beings all equalized living in this egalitarian situation. And then Elon Musk gets to escape, run out to space, continue the frontier lifestyle of capitalism and cowboying it up out there. Is that more or less what you're saying?
Correct. Exactly. Because the moment that we can become to terraform, being able to take the terrestrial planes of different planets, take on their resources, could it be oil, minerals, some form of new rocks or technology, those living on this planet will have a lot more resources to be able to now share more equally. No longer will the passport brothers be able to go to Colombia and be able to get cheap peace leave.
That whole thing sounds like a rather filthy and cheap operation, the way you put it.
It is.
Wow. If Aaron B was here, he would have said shots fired at Passport Bros. But okay. So the Passport Bros, though, they're also contending with chaos, right? Yeah, out there contending with chaos. There's a team there that you can sign up for and say, hey, we have seen the light. Okay, we know the thing that's going on. That's why people are also fond of conspiracy theories. We go to conspiracy theories. Why? Again, because we want to contend with the chaos, right? Lots of things that we're doing out here are about contending with chaos. So the Passport Bros have at least, taken the bull by the horn and done something about something. But I do like what you're saying in the sense that, look, it is almost inevitable. All this talk about universal basic income, for example, or shall we say, forget Karl Marx, but the dialectic that he described, the saying, hey, you know what, you're going to get to a certain point where some things are going to have to happen. Or if you look at it from a technological standpoint, you talk about the singularity. Ray Kurzweil, I believe, right? Would you mind explaining the singularity and also why it too is it's a foreboding. It foretells. There was technological trends also point in the direction that you're saying. It's not just economic trends, but technological trends as well. What you got to say about that? Yeah.
I can, but please, can you read Josh Marango's question? It's a good one, and I will integrate it into the question you've asked me.
There you go. So he says, but how do you compensate for market forces if there is an egalitarian system? Indeed. How do you drive, right? Incentivize demand for a service-sized job with low supply? Okay. Maybe due to undesirability or lack of social status. So incorporate that, okay, with the question I previously asked that you said you were going to do. Yeah, go ahead.
Right now, Josh Marango, is that humanity is reaching a new singularity. All the jobs that required humans are slowly becoming more specialized. Only some people will be able to even work and produce value. Let me give you an example. McDonald's is no longer having 20 cashiers, but now just 3 and maybe 2 cooks, and the rest are electronic. You do not need to pay for breaking their hands, burning their skin. And even now, we have robots that can even cook burgers and do the whole job for you. So humans are becoming less useful. However, if you want to look at the whole scope, is that egalitarianism will be created because the masses will still be there. The masses can still do very menial, very basic tasks like fixing the robots. People can be learning these skills to fix the robots because the robots might still lack some ability to be intuitive, to think outside of the box. Even an average person can think better than a computer when it comes to out of the box thinking. So how do we create this? How do we create the market? Let us give an example. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos are examples. If you look at the world's billionaires, they own around 70% of the world's wealth. They will build their Virgin Atlantic enterprise to go to Mars, take the minerals from Mars, convert it into energy. They will then sell it to the companies which provide energy. The average consumer, all they will have to do is just participate in buying this. Each country, each region will operate as a corporation in their own right. And the people will just be there to act as consumers. The regions will be purchasing these rights. Different energies from different companies coming from different planets.
Okay, so I like how you took from the beginning and you went all the way to the end. Now let's go back to the beginning, right? And you start this off by saying a few things. How about we give you a timeline, not a timeline, but a prediction in terms of, let's say, in 100 years, and what particular critical event can we say? We could pick a critical event. We could say, oh, when will be the point that most people, for the most part, will not be doing any of these, what we may consider, either a bank teller or cashier, all the typical, shall we say, customer service jobs even will be gone, and people will now be behind a computer somewhere. These skills, no. So let me establish something before then I ask you to kind of go back here to this point. But in other words, I asked this question because of the technological trends, which have a logic of their own. It's not about your philosophical preferences. It is not about the kind of order that you would prefer. Generally speaking, anyways, you have to adapt to whatever the emerging orders are. But there is a trend technologically as well, not just philosophically, economically, so on and so forth. A trend technologically that makes it such that, hey, you use the McDonald's example. Okay, the jobs are going to go away. Power and ability to create and so on and so is going to get more and more concentrated, if you will, right? With the big data in Google and the big muscle somewhere else, and everyone else is just going to be consuming, the Cheetos that they bestow upon you from on high, right? But let's come back and let's just establish, can we establish like what is your timeline here? What is your timeline prediction wise? And then we'll kind of chop it up piece by piece here.
I believe that there is already a platforming where we are already beginning to become a lot more focused on technology. Many jobs are on YouTube. They're on writing blogs. They're on electronic commerce potentials. This is where things are already moving. We're already seeing also that globalism is taking over. You can work from any country. In fact, do you not have employees from different countries? Like,
Yes, I do. And I was having a conversation earlier today about this. As a matter of fact, I was like, well, regardless of what you're doing, you need help, right? Regardless of what you're doing, you need help, and now you can get very skilled labor in an untapped area. The people, when you have a situation where people are highly educated and are driven, but there's not a lot of opportunity, and in this world now where the technology is such that you can communicate, okay? You can communicate over with someone in Ethiopia, other parts of East Africa, Europe, wherever it may be, in places where your dollars go further. And you can ask them, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Do you have this skill? You can form that relationship. This thing that these corporations have been doing, going to China to manufacture things, going to India to do the cell phone, where can you go now? Where can you go now? But the call centers, I mean, right? The call centers in India. Where can you go now? You don't have to go to India. The game is already sewn up over there. There are places that speak good English in Africa, for example, that if you needed people to be answering calls for you, or maybe Aaron B in his marketing business now needs to push out a whole bunch of cold calling, he needs to do this full court press marketing campaign, and he needs a bunch of people making calls / answering calls, right? He can get it done, generally speaking, if he's got some dollars or pounds to bring in, and go somewhere in Kenya, Ghana, for example, and get the people there to do that kind of work for you. So 100%, I agree with you there. So we're looking at technological trends. We've given some kind of timeline. Now, it is true that this will benefit some and not benefit others, right? Obviously, that has to be with everything. But how do you, because Tommy Sotomayor comes to mind in this case. Okay. Do you know why Tommy Sotomayor comes to mind? Can you guess?
chaos.
Yes. Okay. The chaos, right? The changing, right? Because the changing and the trends that you cannot control. We said technological trends and so on and so forth. We're going to make things change, so on and so forth. Okay. Now, Tommy Sotomayor does this thing and he does it very well. Where he just jumps in the middle of a brawl and starts swinging and does the chaotic thing at way better than most, right? He's actually, when in the tussle, right, you can see him landing punches, right? And he's able to take the hits too as well. One thing that he said quite clearly is while he's doing this thing is like, and then people in the audience are like, oh my God, and he would from time to time kind of drop the third wall, whatever they call it, right? And say, hey, to anyone in the chat who is taking this seriously, you're like someone having a fist fight in the parking lot of a football game. While the two quarterbacks, they're going to get paid regardless. So when Tommy comes in, starts taking swings, wild swings at another YouTuber, or coming into, the lead attorney's panel or something and starts, doing what Tommy does, he understands he's taking advantage of chaos. He understands that there's an arena and it's a show. And if you take it too seriously and go kill yourself in the parking lot over the game, it's your loss, bruh. So people are going to win, people are going to lose, things are going to change, right? So how does one take care of or handle oneself moving forward? How does one be a Tommy Sotomayor in a situation whereby, how do you end up being closer towards the Elon Musk team here, the ones that can still play the game as opposed to those who are just going to be stuck being consumers, giving you the Cheetos and the ads that Google gives you every morning. It's like it's gonna be new. It's gonna be proteins by Google. I picture it now in the future. It's gonna be like every morning you get this this pack of something. You inject it. Some you dissolve in your water and you drink it. It's supposed to give you your electrolytes and your proteins. It's all Google verified. And how do you end up not getting crushed under the weight of all that, assuming you don't want to be?
The first step is to make sure that you are not too accustomed to believing that this is catastrophized. Do not go and start to overvalue certain circumstances that occur. If you have an issue with another YouTuber or a friend or a colleague at work or any other kind of issue, do not put yourself there and put your ego locked in as though if something else would have happened, you would be lost and broken. Tommy is good because Tommy can play the game. He knows that this is all just a game. The audience is here to be entertained. They are also part of the game. Most of the time, the audience will not take what is being taught and apply it. Some will across time, but generally, it is entertainment. If you are too serious, take yourself too seriously to the point where it starts to inhibit your mental focus, your thoughts, your mental health, and your ability to actually make movements, then you have already lost the game. You have to be able to think carefully, critically, and analyze who you are, where you are, and how you can move around that. Tommy will make contradictions if you look at his series of behaviors across time, but Tommy will not be making contradictions in that arena. He will win each battle. The war is irrelevant if he wins it because he's not playing the same war that you are playing. He's not playing the war of truth or if he's right. He's playing the war of money, and the battle he's winning on rightness. Someone like Elon Musk operates differently. He creates a value that is necessary for us, in fact, to survive. Tommy creates an emotional and mental value system.
Hmm. So you have Tommy out there, which is like Loki or something, right? And then you have Jordan Peterson. We've talked about Abba before, okay? We said Abba and preach. We talked about the privilege of integrity, the privilege of principles, that every principle is a privilege, right? The degree to which it can be bestowed upon you and that not other people don't have it, then it's a privilege. And you should understand this kind of a privilege thing here. We talk about order, okay? And that morality emerges out of the order, not the other way around. Now, if you look at a Jordan Peterson type, what is he primarily worried about, would you say? I'm not even going to make any assumptions. What in this landscape of chaos, in this landscape of trends, trajectories, cannot control groups, sheep going to be sheep over there, people are going to be consumers here, whatever, all these things. What is a Jordan Peterson character particularly concerned about? And and how did he was able to garner up all that whatever it was he garnered up back then?
Jordan is what I would consider a simp. Jordan is a traditional simp who cares about people to his core. Jordan truly cares about men and women and the happiness of their souls. Because he has been thinking so much about these existential ideas in his head, he has begun to develop these strong understandings of human nature. And because he's seen the abyss of depth of hell, he does not want the young generation, especially, to reach there and then be lost, especially since he's battled depression, mental health issues, being and just contending with the abstract nature of life. He wants to save those young people from having to go through it because he knows some can never get back from it.
100 Jordan Simperson or somebody at R&B saying, okay. So Jordan Peterson is a simp. He feels these things and he also has studied and he knows these things. He almost has that like a special access for feeling and knowing, right? And he's trying to save people from some of the darker sides of things, right? Especially as you said, someone suffered depression. He talks about studying let's just say World War II, right? That was generally his thing, right? Um, and also via Solzhenitsyn and stuff, the whole Russian Revolution, 1917, Stalin, concentration camps, and the idea of how evil can run away with you, right? And how evil can just become normal, regular routine, like clicking a button too, which I know is more on the banality of evil side of the talk. But whether you take the Solzhenitsyn thing, the line between good and evil being down to each man's heart, or whatever it may be. So that's what he's concerned about. So now that he's concerned about that, what is his? Is he not? Is he violating the rule of not knowing that principles are privileges? What kind of errors in the landscape of contending with chaos, of which philosophy is one of our tools that we use? What kind of errors is a Jordan Peterson character making out there, would you say, besides being a simp?
Several. The first one that is easy is age and wisdom. He assumes that people can learn from those of others who have garnered the wisdom already, but this is generally not true. People generally need to be able to at least have some experiences themselves in order to truly inculcate the ideas that they learn into their own ways of seeing the world. This is his first assumption. You cannot teach people how to be wise. It is gained through experience. And knowledge is not enough to be able to change someone's mentality. Another one is he generalizes too much about human nature to the point where he ignores specific outcast groups who are suffering from problems such as racism, sexism, transgenderism, and all these unique problem sets. If you generalize them, you then alienate those who are part of those groups because they are suffering from a unique problem from their own perspectives. You must be able to at least account and say, you are correct, this is true, but this is still a way out of this, as opposed to just generalizing it and saying it's all the same, because it's not.
So Jordan Peterson is thinking people can be wise, but let me ask you why or how he is. What warrants that accusation? He says many things. He may be trying to say wise things. Is it the case that anyone that's out there trying to impart wisdom even is guilty of the delusion that that wisdom can be imparted? What if you perhaps catch my drift, what is to be done then about the whole industry of imparting wisdom, whether it be in a book or in going out there saying wise things? Are you saying everyone who does this is guilty of thinking, you're stupid? You can't teach people wisdom. They have to get it from their experience. What do you say?
You can't teach them, but what you can do is plant the seed inside of their hearts. If you tell them something and they have an experience and you explain it in a way that when they go and sleep about it, they have experiences that awaken that wisdom that you gave them, this will activate sooner and faster. Teaching people wisdom is like a catalyst. It activates those understandings much sooner than otherwise would. So it is not completely useless. It is less useful than experiencing for themselves, but it is not useless.
So there's another cohort of people whom kind of hopped on the Jordan Peterson train, right? The wise ones, for example, the ones whom are already
There's
wise.
a comment by Kwame Brown, Dusty Bus Life. It is an interesting comment. I know it is satire, which is why I find it funny.
It's and you're gonna give us you're gonna do the honor of reading it while my eyes are lost here.
Wisdom is an illusion created by those going along with their group instead of being a Kwame.
100. Indeed.
This is funny because a lot of times Kwame would make comments like, this going along to get along crowd. The interesting thing is he is exactly that person. Most people who tuned into him are going along to get along with someone who's becoming famous. They don't critically analyze anything he says, but they go along to get along. It's quite a nice, interesting irony that was created I have nothing against the man, but of course I have to be honest. He is
Yeah.
a victim of his own blindness.
We must unite against those whom will seek to destroy us, was one statement I believe that Bill Clinton made. And he knew that it was a funny statement about uniting against the, in other words, people do the same thing, right? They're talking about, oh, look at whirlpools are happening. Whirlpools are a bad thing. Let's form a whirlpool over here to talk about those other bad whirlpools. In other words, again, let's use the same social dynamics, go along to get along, almost like a celebrity worship, almost even, right? Not critically think of, the whole team thing, saying, oh, look at that. Let's talk bad about that team while I form my own team. And do you think people are completely blind to this? But anyways, go ahead. What are you going to say?
They are not blind if you force them to see. They have the ability to see. The problem is they don't have the willingness to perceive reality for what it is. When they're going along to get along, the people are swayed by magic, by voodoo. There is a spirit behind them. This is why there's that concept of vibe. When you vibe with someone, your vibrational energies are within a similar frequency so that it is pleasant to both of you. Perhaps the way you say things, the way you speak about things, or the experience or whatsoever. If you're vibing with a group, you then fall in line. This is like science when the electrons just come together and form this band, and then the energy gets created that way as a wave. So these people are unable to remove themselves from this group mentality because they have now become a group. The group becomes an alive and separate thing from the individual.
Mm-hmm. So the idea of the group becoming an alive and separate thing from the individual is something that we have heard. We talk about the mob having a personality of its own. We talk about, you can understand 5 kids individually, but when you put them together in a group, they become a different animal, right? But this is a fundamental thing when it comes to the organization of nature, right? I mean, isn't everything just a collection of other smaller things, if you want to look at it that way, right? It's like, oh, this thing becomes completely new when you add it up this way. It's like, well, that's what it's been doing. You know, these are pro atoms, or these quarks that come together, right? Or these particular arrangement of electrons around protons or whatever, right? Uh, and then the combination of those coming together to form molecules become something else. The molecules become, shall we say, organic chemistry. It becomes
So let
something
me
else.
let me break
Go ahead.
the flow. Consciousness, this conversation does not exist in reality, because in reality, either everything exists or nothing exists. And what I mean here is that if you look at the time frame since the so-called Big Bang, assuming that is a good enough model for reality, is that the time frame this conversation took is inconsequential to the time frame since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You could easily blink several millions, billions of temporal second distributions, and this still never happened. Meaning, you can keep making demarcations, separations between time until you can clearly define a behavior or an action that you can then create something out of it. Perhaps that moment you're sleeping, that is a whole universe that exists inside of your mind in those moments, because that can be attributed to a grander, larger
I know you like going
pattern.
there. You're like going there, like, oh, I got you all to that point, and then you're like, oh, like when you're sleeping, I'm like, oh, you gotta. You're not contradicting yourself. You're correct. You're correct. I do like the whole. It didn't happen unless unless you have a wave short enough, energy, high enough to probe something. Did it actually happen? Like it's almost like these particles you discover in the Large Hadron Collider. Like, well, did they actually exist before you went in there knocking around stuff? Am I making any sense?
100%. You can only perceive something if you have the ability to have something that you can prod, you can probe. You have to have something smaller to be able to see something bigger than itself. And
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. This is, one of my things I like to do is I always like to say I'm a physics teacher. Let's put it that way. In some even though I'm not shown that much, but it's one of the things I do, shall we say. Now, this idea here that you just talked about of being able to probe something, right? That you need something smaller. I think that is a good physics intuition for people to understand both high energy physics and low energy physics in a certain way. Basically, what it means is, hey, if you have a wave, right? Let's say like it's a wave of water or something, and you're trying to probe the floor with this wave. You're trying to feel the floor, right? You're trying to feel the floor of this ocean with the wave, right? And it's 2 meters long, right? You're gonna miss the pebbles, right? You're not going to be able to feel the pebbles because your wave is 2 meters long. Can I get a 1 in the chat if that makes sense? Okay. Again, this is a intuition to build when it comes to probing things. Like, what's the Large Hadron Collider doing? What is all this stuff? Like, what do they mean? Well, you need a certain kind in order to probe something. Okay, if your wave is too big, the thing is too small, you're not going to feel it. Okay, so you shorten up the waves, you kind of like break it up a little bit more, like so you can now touch the pedals. It's so that the waves can interact with the pedals in a meaningful way, right? So the whole point of high energy is these things are so tiny that you need to pack a lot of energy into the wave, so high frequency or whatever, what you can imagine. I think we all have the intuition for it, right? You need to create that high energy in order to probe such a tiny space, because it's counterintuitive to think, well, why do I need high energy to look at small things? It's because, okay, that big wave we were looking at, that's a low energy chill thing. That's like bass sound, right? Okay, in terms of the low vibrations. But when you need a high frequency sound in order to probe into smaller areas, get finer resolutions, if you will. Just an opportunity to drop a little intuition. Sorry for interrupting you, Mr. J. Ibrahim. You may continue.
Exactly. Now, when people are inside group thinking, they are no longer at very fine resolutions because now they're thinking as a larger force. So it is impossible to be able to reason with them because they cannot see the particulars. The individual's thinking ability is far stronger than the group ability, in terms of truth at least. The group might be more effective because they're a bigger force, but the individual will be more accurate because they are a smaller, more concentrated point. So if we want to have a true conversation with people, they must be able to remove themselves from this group ideology, or rather, they should be able to move between the two. Sometimes you know when you are in a group, you know when you are an individual, and you know how to pass between each of these worlds.
100%. And shout out to Young Swift out there, the resident introvert. One thing that introverts tend to know, because we're very sensitive to when things become a crowd. Mr. J. Ibrahim, you probably don't understand. You're probably not much of an introvert yourself, but every introvert has a little meter, okay? And any introvert out there in the chat, you could tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Did you say intro cuck?
Intro. Wow, I didn't say intro cuck. I said introvert. It's almost like you have this meter as to when something is company and boom, now it's a crowd, right? And when it's a crowd, that's where that's chaos for us. And we need to contend, where it's like, okay, do I leave? Okay, can I salvage this situation? Because what we're looking for is meaningful conversations, generally speaking. We don't like to converse unless it's meaningful to us, because the point of we don't see relating as very important, which is our mistake, right? We don't see just small talk. We're like, why small talk? Why have small talk? Well, it's because people are building this bond that they need to build, right? But the introvert is like, now it's a crowd. But anyways, the reason I bring it up is because introverts are very sensitive to when they're talking to a person and when they're now talking to a group. And all my life, and all the life of any introvert out there, we've been seeing that thing where I was talking to somebody before, now it's a group and I cannot get the same quality out of them. I cannot get the same high resolution out of them. It's not, they've become a bigger wave now. If we're following in the chat, they're no longer this small, discrete collection of, they've now formed a bigger collective. They're now behaving differently. They don't have high resolution anymore. Okay. And we notice this thing psychologically. You may continue, sir.
Yes, this is correctly it. Now, I myself am not an introvert. I'm an extrovert. However, I cannot stay with people for too long without it affecting my own sanity for different reasons. For me, it is maintaining the group flow energy state of collectivism long enough to perform the peacock games, the games of certain aesthetics and things that you do, the small talk, not because it is crowding, but because it is too low level. And I simply want to be able to engage with the soul. But I do not find the crowd itself overwhelming. It is more or less that the games and the expectations that I participate in this wave, myself from a particle, which is me as the individual, to become in this wave in this particular group. Because you lose your individuality. You cannot say the truth. If you are an African American and you are currently fighting for reparations or other things, you cannot then say, hang on, can this reparation truly help us? It is a nice thing, and we can talk about it being nice because I want the money. I will not turn down free money, but will it actually be effective in helping solve our problems? Of course not. But you cannot say that and still maintain a certain state of without causing issues. Or if you're an African, the same thing comes in there. You have issues where you cannot be contradicting the group because the group is now its own force.
So, yeah, I like that you finally stated what it is about the group dance that you don't like, that you find frustrating. And it is literally the dance. Now we sit up and now we kneel down, now we pray. Shout out to the Catholics out there, right? The things that we have to do, the ways we have to shake our hands, the slight smile we got to keep on our face, whatever it is that is part of the dance, that the social dance that day is draining for you. That's rather interesting. For me, it's not that. It's just usually the people. I can do very formal, silly dances all day as long as it does not become a crowd, and as long as the quality. So the part that we share obviously is the quality has to be there. It has to be quality, not this low level bullshit all the time. So you are talking about reparations. Okay, let's just touch on that topic, since again we're musing, ladies and gentlemen. We are going about on this very, very, very glorious day where we get an extra Monday off, and we're out here in a tie talking about things. Reparations. What are the ways in which reparations could not be good for you? Okay, so before you answer, I'm just going to say the thing that I always say here on this channel. And to any of you whom is new, make sure you click the subscribe button, okay? If you're watching, you might as well subscribe. If you're like watching or hate watching or whatever it may be, you might as well subscribe, right? It's kind of like, Anyways, so there's this thing about reparations, and I'm going to state this whole Jeff Bezos thing. Jeff Bezos hit you with a truck, right? Jeff Bezos is going to hit you with a truck. He's going to be found guilty. It is his fault. Under the rules of who is to blame, Jeff Bezos is to blame. He hit you with a truck. So Jeff Bezos now gives you reparations ordered by the court. He says, here is $10 billion. One way in which Jeff Bezos can't help you, though, is you still have to get up and do the physical therapy. You have to go on that treadmill. You have to go to the psych therapy person to get over now your trauma, right? You have to learn to walk again. In other words, Jeff Bezos' billions cannot help you, right, in that regard. So I just wanted to say that as the first case. You're saying reparations. How do you think critically about it? How do you say the truth about it? How do you have fine resolution when there's a group activity? Because, ladies and gentlemen, if you are subscribing to any kind of, this is the danger of YouTube, the danger of any kind of tribalism, if you will, is that once you click up with some people, right, to the degree to which you're acting as a unit, you're actually not thinking, and you have no ability to think. You become this big wave, this big stupid wave that doesn't see the pebbles, right? So the idea is Jeff Bezos' billions cannot help you in terms of physical therapy and such and such and such. But in what other ways could it be, shall we say, detrimental or not, shall we say, conducive to your ends to get reparations?
Well, let's begin with the
white man,
the Caucasian, correct. The Caucasian will become a simp if he allows the reparation to happen, because it will not change the narrative. The narrative which the Caucasian is going to pay the reparation is the black man finally says, you have paid your debts. You did some evil things to us, but I do not forgive you fully, but I am going to leave this behind and build and move on. That is what the kakuna. I learned this word from listening to one of your streams with some of your people. I believe it means Caucasian.
Yes.
That is what the Caucasian man will ultimately want to gain from this whole response. The problem here is this will not happen. The moment he gives reparation, people will say, you think you can buy us out of this? You think that you can give us money? You think that this is something that money can do? This is an insult to us. So even if he pays them, he will not be free from what he's going to be incentivized to pay the money for. That is the one thing. There is no way that the black man will ever stop blaming the Caucasian man for what happened. Rightly so, or not rightly so, is not the purpose of this point. The point is this will not stop. Now, in case of the actual black man, it will not help him. The black man is the person who spends the money the most outside of his own community compared to other communities. What will happen is, in fact, he will improve the economy towards the Caucasian man because he will be spending money, and also the Chinese man because they have businesses. So in reality, it might be good for the country to give the black man reparations because they will spend and the economy will continue. The money will leave their hands anyway, which in turn will be bad for the black man because he will not have the money which he has been fighting for. If you want to give him reparations, give him land or scholarships or access to resources and property. Property, in fact, is probably the best way, and he cannot sell it past one full generation.
So you created the demarcation of, let's look at it from the Caucasian point of view, the kakuna, and let's look at it from the black man's point of view. We say, okay, well, the white man, okay, if he does decide to simp and let it go through, and you mentioned what you mentioned. I'm not going to comment on that. I think you made it perfectly clear. And then on the other hand, hey, you're going to get these reparations, and it's almost like the Jeff Bezos example, right? You need to do your physical therapy, okay, so that you can actually use this money for something useful in a certain sense. Or the money will not give you your physical therapy, even though you're stating more clearly that the money will leave your hands anyways. And I'm saying it's because you haven't done certain other things that keep money in your hands, right? So why is the money leaving your hands? Is because you haven't done your physical therapy, with that Jeff Bezos kind of analogy, right? So another kind of divide is a kind of psychological thing that goes on. So even in your solution where you say, in order for the money to stay in their hands, I 100% agree with this, that this would be that it is a problem, and therefore perhaps the delivery method, in other words, we must agree that the delivery method of this, and shout out to Sir Ism in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Sir Ism and shout out to those who were super chatting. And ladies and gentlemen, hey, it's a holiday and I'm out here, we're out here putting in the work, having a good conversation about contending with chaos, clicking up, the mistakes that we make when it comes to like thinking that we have principles and so on and so forth. And so drop $2, $1, $5 in the super chat. It is definitely appreciated by the firm, ladies and gentlemen. So the psychological thing I was going to say is this. Even in your solution whereby they fix the problem of the money staying in their hand, they give the money via a delivery method such as land, okay, such as a certain kind of a business, something that just not just going to get pissed away, right? It is still the case that it is a handout, and human beings psychologically are not going to just let that go. And I think it's part and parcel of why they will never stop blaming, right? Each other, is because until you let the person go, the person is still giving you a handout of some kind. The person is still in some kind of a position of mastery over you, right? And the person can say, "Hey, we had the deal. I signed the contract to give you this thing. I don't want to hear anything from you anymore," right? How about that psychological angle?
This will never happen because, of course, you know that the successive generations of the black man and his children will not want to do this. The Caucasian man will simply look at this and say, and feel the bitterness, and in fact, will become more racist as a result. And then it will truly become a so-called race war because neither side will be satisfied. The black man will be looking for perpetual victim narrative. When I say the black man, I'm talking about specific people, not the general or even the average. And the white man will not get what he wants, absolution. To truly have absolution, the black man must become a contender for #1 spot. This is the only way the race issue is solved. And this will be solved through two ways. The white man is not having enough children to replace himself. The Mexican and the black man will overtake him in less than 100 years.
Okay. So let me go ahead and take care
I
of the
have
super
one
chats.
comment by Black Ken. Jews don't get handouts every year. Asians, Native Americans have gotten reparations too. Okay, it is a question. They do get reparations. This is not the point of the conversation. This is a power conversation. They do get the reparations because of the deal they signed with Britain and in the Second World War. And because they are owners of many banks and YouTube, etc., as an example, with certain military advantages to America in that particular part of the world. So this is a beneficial business deal to America. So yes, they do get reparations, but that is not the point. First of all, we are talking about if the reparations will suit the black man, and the Jews are the least at spending their money. In fact, we put our money in their banks. So think about that. They are not going to lose the money, but create more money when they get the money. We're talking about the practicality of getting reparations, not whether it should be given. To make it clear, the black man should be given the reparations he is owed because he was promised 40 acres and a mule. If you're going to use that argument, I agree. But this is not whether they should. This is the practicalities of how to go about it.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because this is not mere politics. To sound cheesy, this is not politics, this is philosophy. In other words, in philosophy, you're going to look at the fact that there is a psychological issue of, first of all, there's the Jeff Bezos question, right? Okay, well, this is not going to solve your problems in certain ways. It doesn't mean Jeff Bezos should give you the billions, okay? Are we following in the chat? My Jeff Bezos example never says you should not get the billions from Jeff Bezos. Let me get a 1 in the chat if those who know.
1 second. Let me even answer your question or your statement before you even say it. Mm-hmm. In fact, I'm glad that The young man, I presume, brought up that point about Native Americans. Native Americans were given handouts. But if you look at the success level of Native Americans compared to Black Americans, you can
Oh,
see
come on.
that they are at the bottom of the
Yeah,
barrel.
that was a bad example.
Completely bottom of the barrel, because you can attribute to them being given things. This is the same for the Canadian Native Americans as well as the Native Aboriginals in Australia.
Those are good points. So we see these native populations, they were given certain kinds of handouts, and things didn't quite work out. Correlation, causation, I would say. But generally speaking, I think that the assailment on, or the argument or the conversation about.
Let me
Go ahead.
move that, whatever you said, correlation, causation. The Jews were already a successful business banking community in Europe. So when they received the money and handouts, they were able to create a successful country. The Blacks were successful before the handouts. However, their community was destroyed majority by breaking down family structures. So when that is now broken and then you give them the money, they're just going to go sooner into abyss and chaos. The same with the Native Americans. So first, the Black community must fix itself to be able to then utilize that handout accurately.
100%. 100%. I never say don't take Jeff Bezos' billions, but you'd be silly to think that, oh, the billions was going to do the physical therapy for you. That's the whole point of that idea. The billions will not do the physical therapy for you. And in this particular case, you need to do the physical therapy first so that you can keep the billions, right? You need to do the kind of work that only you can do, right? Jeff Bezos can't do it for you. He hit you with the truck. He's to blame. He's at fault. He paid you $1 billion to compensate you. But still, you got to do physical therapy, mental therapy, learn how to walk again, learn how to talk again, all that kind of stuff by yourself, no matter how good Jeff Bezos is. And in this particular case, it is the case that you actually have to do certain things first. The physical therapy has to happen first before you get Jeff Bezos' billions. That way you can keep it, would be the argument, right? But then there is the whole, also there's the psychological argument, which you can't take it off the table, in the sense that, what does it mean to get the reparations? Does it mean you stop saying certain things, right? What is the deal being struck here? And will you ever be satisfied, as you know, forget the deal part, the part where some people say, hey, you were promised, as you said, right? Promise 40 acres mule, deal. You should always hold up the deal. But if you're looking for something beyond the deal, or thinking that something is going to stop, something is going to change, or maybe somebody giving the deal, maybe thinking, okay, now they're going to stop complaining about. It's like, no, nothing is going to change. The politics is just going to keep on going on. It's just going to be another. They're just going to move on to the next thing, right? So all these are the things that need to be looked at on the landscape when one is not just doing pure advocacy, pure polemics, and pure political side taking, if you will, right? But shout out to Gail Lockett. Thank you very much. The one and only moderator here in these YouTube streets, holding it down. She'll probably win. She'll probably be a contender in the next Manosphere, shall we say, Olympics, right? Is it Olympics they call? Award show, O'Shea Dukes Jackson channel. They were looking pretty dusty the last show they did, him and Solo, but no shade, but hopefully you guys up your production game in your dusty awards.
Strugglewood. I have seen O'Shea's show, the Strugglewood. I will give him respect. I have tremendous respect for this young man, for his show in Uganda called Strugglewood. It's very well done.
Oh, nice. So we get one shout out for O'Shea for Strugglewood and the whole Ugandan operation. And we had mentioned before about going international as one of the ways of taking advantage of things that are out there right now. And O'Shea is a very clear example of how one does that. How do you go to school in Poland while running an organization in Uganda that does these 2 YouTube channels for you? And in the Pan-African space and the management, like, how do you do that? Well, you take advantage of the fact that, it's a big world out there. You have advantages coming from the West that you can take advantage of going out there to places where people don't have as much opportunity, but they do have skill. They do have skill. Shout out to Kim the Comic. Now, that's Gail Lockett, $4 super chat or super sticker, I should say. And let's continue. I know that there are a couple more. I want to acknowledge them. If I can find my cursor. Right. Shout out to Kate Polymath hitting us with the foreign currency. I can't talk to them. Here's for Jay Ibrahim's son's internet bandwidth connection. Wow. Is there oh yeah, because the kids are playing video games, messing up the flow of things. And another one from K Polymath out here embezzling the university's money. Dr. K Polymath, is that what you're doing? Support the stream, brothers and sisters, he says. Thank you. And then he did another one, and then Greg O followed. Greg O followed with a $5 super chat, I believe. Right there. Should I be able to pronounce that or know what that is? Do you recognize that? Is this some Ghanaian language?
This is actually, I believe, from Swahili. It is Asante Sana. It means thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brothers. You must learn different languages. I speak parts of Swahili, parts of Amharic. I speak parts of several different Nigerian languages, as well as Spanish and French and Japanese and several other ones. You must refine yourself because you never know what you might need one day. But my favorite is, of course, the full.
Your favorite is the what?
Fulani.
Yeah. This dusty camel people out there.
Well, we're not dusty. Well, we are dusty in the literal sense, but not dusty in the woman's sphere sense.
Oh, really? So you guys are high value camel jockeys out there, getting all the desert bitches. All right. There was a detour there while he was flexing his Fulani muscles, and I had to let him know that, hey, we see what you guys are doing out there in the desert. No shade though, no shade. Now, we have said a few things about the kind of project that people have with regards to dealing with chaos. We talked about Abba and Preach. We talked about Abba talking about integrity. We talked about Tommy Sotomayor style, the low-key style, the style of contending directly with chaos. And over time, you may say, hey, why did he get in this battle and then turned around and got out of the battle? It's like, there is a logic to what he's doing, okay? And he understands that it is a game. That is the way that you put it. He understands 100% that it is a game. And then we go further with the Jordan Peterson type and their concerns. Okay, one thing I should have tagged Coach Greg Adams here. Coach Greg Adams.
You read my mind.
That's how it happens, right? Go there. I'm not even going to ask then. Since you were already thinking, go ahead. What you got?
Coach Greg Adams.
What mistakes? How is he fucking up out there? Go ahead.
Well, you can go first. I'll give my point after you.
Oh, no. Well, I just wanted to establish that there's a pattern here of us showing that, we are coming for people, okay, ideas and such, not even in a very serious way, but in a philosophically serious way by showing the other side.
Give one of Coach Greg Adams.
Okay.
But this is slightly different from the one you're thinking. Now I know which one you're thinking, but I'll give the first one. Coach Greg Adams is the kind of man that reminds me of Bernard, actually. Bernard Riley, shout outs to him. Now, Coach Greg Adams is interesting. He's a man who does not believe in Christianity because it did not meet the pragmatic, practical reasons that he would seek rather than whether it's true or false. To him, he was analyzing those around him, the mothers, the fathers, and the children practicing it and contradicting themselves as opposed to seeing the system as independent of the individuals who practice it, but he was looking at the whole cultural aspect. So to someone like Coach, Christianity or any belief system is based on whether it is useful as opposed to if it's true.
I left you hanging while I went and refilled my cup. Oh, what do we have here? I think
Are you 32 double B?
fill my cup, Lord. I lift it up, Lord. What do I have here? Okay. What I have here are some shots, right? I got some wheatgrass shots for my I look like such a Whole Foods asshole right now. Excellent. But anyways, it's a holiday. So I get to have my wheatgrass shots and iced coffee, just plain cold brew, uh, while I get ready for the week while we work. Now, Coach Greg Adams, I heard what you said about him. I heard you coming for him. So the kinds of things that I think that
Plus one more point before you go.
Okay, go ahead.
So women might ask Coach Greg Adams, why is it that you say that the society and relationship is broken and you are doing exactly that which perpetuates it, promoting for men to go and have monkey double backflips with young women instead of trying to build families? So why is it
Community
that you are
college, junior college? I'm sorry.
junior college, right? Why is it then perpetuating this brokenness as opposed to trying to fix it? Now, his reasoning is that there's no point trying to fix it because it's broken. So I may as well enjoy myself in this process. But with this kind of thinking, it makes you aware that him and people like him are simply participating in the game because they enjoyed the game rather than whether the game has any merit, value, truth, or wise propositions in that game. He is the same person he hates.
Okay, so recurring theme. People say they're not in the go along to get along crowd. Okay. But they go join a go along to get along crowd somewhere. Let's say it's the Kwame Brown, right? People say that, hey, we're not racist, we're not, tribal in any regard, right? Today, but then they form these groups that assail tribal groups where they can't think and they do mob mentality that go and assault the groups that they consider to be tribal, going after the white supremacists, for example, by forming your group and engaging in groupthink. Now, when it comes to groupthink, perhaps I may mention this one, that I think that Coach Greg Adams is guilty of, shall we say, endorsing groupthink more than he should. Endorsing it's all the Holland Tunnel. Okay, it's everything's gonna end up everybody. There's no such thing as a happy marriage, for example.
If Coach knew you, he would call you a blue-pilled monkey chimpanzee for the decisions you made.
Yeah, I'm more of a simp for taking live on air shots or wheatgrass shots. But
You
there's no
are
such
the
thing as a
god after all.
there is no such thing as a happy marriage. There is no such thing as people making it through. There are no outliers. It's all bad, right? It's you're not gonna make it. You're gonna fall off that cliff. Now, the way I like to put it is this, okay? There may be a 70, maybe like there's I don't know, is it 50-50? Maybe it's 64. Maybe there's a 60% chance of failure. But I think that Coach Greg Adams catastrophizes, right? Shout out to Dr. Polymath. Catastrophizing things. If you have a 60% chance of falling off a cliff when you drive a particular road, don't drive that road. Okay? That's because you got to look at the chances, but you also have to look at the outcome. Okay, the devastation, the finality, the fatality of the outcome, right? If there's a 60% chance of you dying, don't take that bet. But getting a divorce is not death, bro. That'll be the first pushback. How am I wrong there? It's not catastrophize. I think that he does catastrophize. He does allow more groupthink than he should. And then for some people, they're like, look, you don't have to be lying about numbers and make it seem like nobody's out here happy. No, there are actually some people who can pull it off, right?
Yeah, just because that 80% of startups fail does not mean that startups always fail, or rather, you should not bother starting anything up.
Don't start your company. It'll fail. It'll fail, right?
Exactly.
I like that one.
Right. Because most companies fail, in fact, but some do succeed. And those that succeed is either by accident or that they have done it several times. Of course, competence is already instilled and expected. That's why I did not mention it. But yes, Coach Greg Adams, that what you just said, because he believes that no one is happy. He wants to push the idea that this is the worst possible thing because he does not want to acknowledge that some people are happy. But in reality, if you want to be truthful, you must give people options. Yes, it does likely going to fail, but this is not the point. And my
it's likely going to fail, but this is not the point. And by the way, all the people we've been mentioning, right? We're not. The only reason I would mention somebody like, let's say, Coach Greg Adams, because I'm with the Coach gang, right? But while I'm in the Coach gang,
backflips,
like a busted Pillsbury biscuit can, while I'm in any particular bandwagon of people, okay, I always am very aware of, as I said, as a natural introvert my whole life, I'm always aware of individual versus group activity, individual versus group thinking. I don't do group thinking very well. I'm naturally blessed in that regard because I'm an introvert, right? I know that's kind of, there's many things faulty with that logic, but don't come for me. But the point is, when I'm with that bandwagon, I still need to be able to point out, right, the fallacies, the go along to get along, the blind spots, and the stupidities. Any group you're in is prone to stupidities. It's prone to making you stupid. Group by definition is more stupid than individual, right? So if you go into a group and you start losing your individual and your ability, dude, you're just being stupid, right? And other individual members of any group whom don't respect you for also being an individual while in their group, that's a group you don't want to be in, right? Anyways, go on.
Shout out to Young Swift, basketball connoisseur. Yep. People's end up going from the blue pill group to a non-marriage group or red pill group, etc. Going along to get along. And shout out to Omar Ali. CGA is the boss. Coach Greg Adams is the boss. Coach Greg is truth. So I can see that he loves him. Now, one comment here. One of our friends from the Manosphere talked to one of the women from O'Shea's team, Juanita. And what he told me is that Juanita said that a lot of the African-American men who approach her in lieu of a relationship are usually Kevin Samuels supporters without their own brains, because they generalize women even in Africa who, although they want your money, they will give you the submission. So you generalize falsely across board without understanding the particularities of the individual that you're dealing with. And this is something that she has mentioned.
So, well, you guys out there are blowing up Juanita's inbox, sliding in the DMs. You doing that, Young Swift? Or are you too young? Or you're probably, yeah, you're probably like, oh, she's got some money. She, she looks good. Now you're out there simping for Juanita. Okay, so the point is this, right? People are prone to make these mistakes when they go into a group. They get fed this particular message, and then they generalize inappropriately, right? They don't know how to use general information, right? They then go into Juanita's DMs and start treating her like, oh, you must be just like every other person here. And the particular way in which I'm going to transact with you it's non-nuanced at all. It's like, you must be only interested in X, and in order to get what I want from you, I need to present only Y and in only such a way. You mentioned a particular nuance, which is, hey, the African women, they want your money. Let me say that again. You hear? So African women, 100%, they want your money. Okay? But they will give you the cooperation, right? Not, of course, not all of them, right? Just to say that silly thing, the not all. We need to write a song about that.
Did you
We
know
need to have something we
that
play a
not
song like,
all?
not all. Go ahead.
Did you know that not all men have penises?
Huh. Well, well, let's we'll save the transgender conversation but maybe we'll get there. Maybe we'll get there. Maybe we will get there. However, though, the idea that they want your money, but they can still also give you the cooperation you want, because a lot of times it's about being trained to play a role and being trained to feel comfortable being identified as something. A woman that's trained to feel comfortable identifying as a woman and playing the role that we would consider traditional woman will give you that thing that you want. But it doesn't mean that she doesn't want your money. Is she crazy? Of course she wants. Of course, she wants that. But so you're gonna go into Joanita's DMs and you're gonna be like, "Oh, Joanita wants money." Of course, Joanita wants money. It doesn't. No, does that make her back? No, she'd be dumb if she doesn't want that money. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's ask this young man, in fact, is it not true that you want to be able to pursue the woman in a physical state? Of course, it is the case. So if you want to sleep with her, why should she not want your money? She does not need to sleep with you because she can sleep with anyone. You're not special to her. In the same way, you do not need her money because you know how to make money. It is a fair exchange of resources in the market. As long as you get the cooperation, kindness, that is good.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Yeah, she doesn't have to sleep with you. Okay, slide in those DMs and then getting red pill rage because you were rejected. Because
You
you were
think that
rejected.
she likes you because of personality? Can she eat your personality? Can she sustain her life with your personality? Can she pay for her modern apartment in Kampala City with your personality? No.
But well, how about genuine desire? Shout out to Rolo Tomasi, right? Let's go for Rolo Tomasi.
Genuine desire. When women are on their gestation periods, they are far more likely to go and find the good guy. However, when they're not there, they are likely to want to have fun. But that fun is also temporary. It seems that both types of men, both the ones who get women to have genuine desire and those who have the money but no genuine desire, they both have the same problem. They are trying to get her to fall for her on the other side. The so-called Dusty can get genuine desire, but he cannot get her to want to commit to him. The one who can get her to commit to him cannot get her to want to enthusiastically do monkey double backflips all over him, as shout out to Coach Craig Adams. You must compromise or become a king.
Okay, so the dichotomy which you painted, which is, okay, well, you can be on this end, get the genuine desire thing, right? Get that lust going, but maybe she doesn't want to commit to you because that's all you've got, blah blah blah. And then there's this other person who has, I don't know, let's call him the educated lame or something, right? maybe he's educated lame, but he also has a plan and a program. I can submit to this guy, but whatever that genuine desire thing is, and you talk also about a cycle, right? You talked about the cycle as well, right? That's important, the biological cycle, right? whatever that may be, that person's not getting it. And then obviously somebody asks, right? Why can't I get both? And that's when you added, or you can be a king, you can be a master, you can join my cult, for example. You can sign up for MISC, Mastering Your Subjective Consciousness. Okay. You can begin to meditate. You can begin to learn soft skills. You can begin to sell, grow your business, understand reality from a natural, stoical point of view, whereby there are inputs you need to put in to get the outputs that you want. In other words, you can play the game at that highest level if you want to maximize and get all, but obviously you're talking about a small percentage of people, are we not? Right? When everyone else there, shout out to Young Swift, we're not talking about NPCs here. So pick a lane or go try to pursue the king philosopher, the warrior prince philosopher king.
Pick a lane.
What silly jokes are you making this time?
I heard you say pick a lane.
Pick a lane, man. That's the new marketing campaign for educated lames out there. I'm going out this campaign on all college campuses with engineering schools in the country. It's called Pick a Lane. Okay, pick a lane. PAL. We're gonna have pals for you. Get it? We're gonna have pals for the ladies, and you know they form a pen pal thing, and that's you get to pick a lane and you get to get the bag.
After you want.
And guess what, ladies? You get to play around in your 20s too, as a matter of fact, until like you're about 28. So you get the lane, you lock him down while he's going through college, and you get to have all the fun you want. You don't have to deal with him. After he's, less dusty, started, that lameness starts to bear some fruition, then you get to lock him down. Everybody wins. Pick a lane. That's your pal. Anyways, where were we? I forgot.
Welcome to MISC. Master your subjective consciousness. Are you a single mother? Going to be a single mother? Are you from a demographic which have many single mothers? Then pick a lame. We have a selection of lames that earn over $70,000 a year who are ready to commit. Do you want to struggle with Tyrone or Pookie? Do you want to be spooked every time the police come at your door for taxes? Then pick a lane. Join our subscription at MISC. Pick a lane. Charges do not apply.
Let's do it. You saw it here first, okay? We're going to start Pal. Pick a lane is going to be part of the Mastery of your Subjective Consciousness, the MISC program. And someone is asking how much it costs. There will be a formal release soon about what I'm talking. Okay. A formal release. Shout out to Blind Guy, his wife, their life, where I give the information about the consultation and all these other things. Okay. We're out here trying to build a ship that'll get us far together. Okay. Because we're trying to go far indeed, not just fast. And we're trying to go far together, trying to build this ship, trying to throw some books in there, some knowledge in there, maybe some conferences in there, maybe some clothes, food, clothing, and textile. Okay. You can become the king, so on and so forth. Genuine Desire, Rollo Tomasi, Coach Greg Adams. What exactly are the ways in which these people are trying to contend with chaos and the pitfalls that we find? One major thing that we've kind of, I think, established here is we gave people the intuition about a low frequency, right? Long wavelength wave, and how it's not very good for probing things. And this is how people become when they group up. When you group up, you don't have high resolution anymore. It becomes this big blob. Everything now has to be looked at with a very low resolution, agreed upon narrative, right? Hence, you want to be able to be, let me ask you, this is a question. Is it the case then that my strategy is a good strategy to follow, which is I want to be in the coach gang, Adam and Preach gang. I'm going to be in the Jordan Peterson gang. And also I'm going to be in the gang of certain leftists, like hardcore leftists who really believe in that ideology. And hey, I may even be in the Ayn Rand libertarian gang, right? I may be in the gang with these particular kinds of investors who believe in the traditional markets, but also I'm in the gang with the crypto pals, right? Is this a viable strategy? You know, just kind of go out there, be in all these gangs, because you're going to need to gang up anyways, right?
Yes, I believe that your strategy is one of the in-betweener. The in-betweener is able to move adjacent to different groups and attribute success from each particular group. They're not actually stuck, although participating in mind hive behavioral psychology within the group hierarchy systems, they do not let go of their consciousness. They do not let themselves be driven by only the subconscious. So I believe that if you do this, you are presenting yourself and putting yourself in the best position. Also, your ideas will be challenged. You will consistently be able to refine your ideas. In fact, I am also part of the white supremacy groups, not because I'm particularly one of them, but I need to know how they think, what they think, and how to destroy them. Because to catch your enemy, you must be able to think like your enemy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, yes, we keep it serious in the sense that it is real, right? And you don't do play childish games like, oh, you're part of white supremacist YouTube channels? Of course you should be. You never hide from the chaos as though it does not exist. You know that thing you do, young Swift, when you were a kid, right? You imagine that there's some kind of a monster. Okay. There's a monster in the closet. Okay. There's a monster in the closet. It's got sharp teeth, it's got fangs. That represents chaos. It's the unknown, it's the dark. Okay. But for some reason, okay, if you just cover yourself with that blanket, right? Oh, now you're safe. Okay. Now you can pretend like chaos does not exist. That blanket, what's that blanket? That blanket is the group. That blanket is the team. That blanket is the, oh, well, we're not for this, we're for that. That blanket is the group think. And you're pretending like the chaos is not going to get you, like it's not really out there. That, you know, things are just going to rectify themselves. All of a sudden, the borders are going to protect themselves, and the food is going to just come out of the tree and end up in your bowl by itself. Well, no. So the idea of the person whom then, you know, does, as you call them, the in-betweener, is rather interesting to give more as someone whom is kind of that person, as I said earlier. One thing is, and it's kind of funny too, because I always find myself living in the borders of cities too. It's I know I sound woo woo now, but it's something I also noticed. I always kind of I'm always, there's an in between aspect to many aspects of my life, right? I'm always in the border of two cities. I move a lot. Okay, over here in the you could say in between African Americans and Africans, right? Or in betweener of all kinds. You know, I'm friends with at high school. You know, I'm friends with the nerds. I'm friends with the jocks. But my favorite group was the bad guys, right? You know, because they're above it all, right? 'Cause I'm not a jock, I'm not a nerd. No, what I do is I climb, you know, to dangerous places and I smoke weed during class or whatever it may be. That crew, I like that crew too. But you can find me there. You can find me with the nerds. You can find me with the jocks. You can find me with the regular people. You can find me everywhere. And being able to play, you get your. I like you that you mentioned that your ideas will be challenged. You're gonna understand very well what you believe because you're gonna get it from the jocks are gonna say, "Why do you hang out with those people?" And you got to be able to stand and say, "Hey, I do what the fuck I want to do," right? Because I'm me. Haven't you noticed that I'm not like any of these other idiots out here? So it's a privilege for me to be in your midst. Don't worry about other places I'm at. You begin to kind of form a strong sense of your own identity if you do that in-betweener thing a lot because people will want to challenge you and then you need to tell them, hey, you're the one benefiting from my presence because you know I do what the f I want to do, and you can recognize that about me because I don't get clicked up with any of these other idiots. All these other people I go to, I get value from them and I give value to them. And if you don't get it, well then fuck you, right? You don't deserve my presence, motherfucker. Anyways, shout out to Blind Guy, his wife. Their life says the man was holding me back. I prevailed and got signal. Shout out to you. Let me go ahead and address a couple other. K Polymath again. K Polymath again, I think, gave us the pick a lame. Pick a lame. Pal. Pick a lame. Make him a pal. Pick a lane and get a pal.
This is a true PayPal.
This is a true PayPal. He will pay. That lame will pay. He's waiting for. And shout out to Coach Greg Adams. And that's you. Those who are part of the CGA gang know to what that refers. Why do I talk like this? Why do I talk like this, Jay Ibrahim? I need some help. Why do I say shit like you to whom it might belong, and we're in so far as much we're so forthwith?
Because you believe in speaking through the origin of language when it became unique enough in separation from German. You believe that it is I who proposes that the future state be therefore intertwined within the reality of the basis of truth itself. You would prefer to be able to do some abstract propositional logic in terms of reality and move beyond the horizon to the point where your mind is opened to that which was origin. The English language is purest when it is used in Shakespearean terms, because Shakespeare was the first roadman.
True. 100%. Yeah. So forgive me, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Out here in the den of iniquity with vicinity no pretty. You know what I'm saying? And how do we deal with things? We've talked about many aspects of this contending with chaos. Is that a good definition for philosophy? How one contends with chaos? And if it is good, then does it include, as I would argue that it does, that philosophy is more doing, or includes a lot of doing, and perhaps even unconscious thinking, right? That the idea of, philosophy has to be this silly thing that Immanuel Kant sits in his stupid, pale German ass and writes on some silly whatever in a nasty, damp room. Or is it how I contend with chaos mentally, emotionally, physically, group-wise, right? Intuition-wise, and all otherwise? Am I making sense?
Well, I want to make a small joke over here first. In Nigerian families, and also in Zimbabwe and some parts of Africa, parents name after their kids words which they wish they had but do not have. An example is victory, because they did not have any wins in their life, or favor, or blessing. These are common Nigerian and Zimbabwean names. Or Mercedes, for example, because they wish they had one. Now, Immanuel Kant, as you can see, his father was a cock. He did not have that, so he named it that way. Now, beyond that joke is that, yes, philosophy must include the ideas and wisdom that you have built up in your own mind within your own particular narrative as a unique individual. Perhaps you are that weirdo who had to fight against groups. You had to find unique ways to survive. Cannot allow the group to tell you what you did is wrong, when you are simply surviving and the group did not have to do what you did to survive. You can acknowledge that it is not the perfect state in the future state once you have reached that state, but you should not look back and think it was wrong. You can look forward and think it shall not be again, perhaps. That is wisdom.
Oh, I see. So I noticed, though, that you quickly took it into the wisdom place again. And you said philosophy must include again. But I'm saying, is it right for me to say primarily philosophy is how you contend with chaos? Now, forget the propositional aspects of the truths. Forget syllogisms and arguments. Forget even what you
Sure.
what some. Go ahead. Okay, sure. So you find that to be so. Is this a good rebranding of philosophy? Good rebranding of philosophy suggests that one wants to rebrand philosophy. Do you think that philosophy needs to be branded and fed to the people, or you think it's useless to you, therefore it should be useless to everybody? Any thoughts about this?
I believe that it will help individuals with their individual problems, but the group will not allow it to reach the zeitgeist anytime soon. But yes, of course, it will help the individual. If you compare the happiness level of that African boy or girl who is told that the world is out there to get you, that you are not entitled necessarily to survive in the best particular way that you prefer, unless you make it so by either acquiring wealth, power, or resources, to the Western child who's taught that you should be able to work at night at 5:45 p.m. without anything happening to you, as if that itself is power and will therefore prevent or suppress those who wish to harm you. That is going to harm those people who believe that, because they will sweep into the rest of their thinking frameworks, and then sometime, 100% of the time, it will cause them abject pain and suffering.
Hmm. It'll work for the individual. The group will not let it get into the zeitgeist. It's almost like saying, you know what? Even within microcosms, let's say you take the red pill. You take the red pill community, and the red pill community specifically, let's talk about manosphere, because red pill is a big thing. Um, Even within that small group, okay, there is there are individuals that can be helped, but the zeitgeist of the red pill of the manosphere community does not allow actual wisdom to prevail, right? If you look at the whole thing, it's not the actual wisdom of the real helpful stuff that prevails. But if, as an individual in there, you can be helped and perhaps made happier by these realities being revealed to you, right?
Yes, definitely. Now, Miley's Nevison says, I am from Zimbabwe. My parents named me Tariro, meaning hope. So my family did not have hope. Yes, this is the correct. You are their hope that finally came. By Nevison also says, I heard philosophers seek / look for wisdom. Sages don't seek it, they are wisdom. I'm trying to get to sagism. Sagism is the practice of contending with chaos. Philosophers are trying to create the map and put the points of where the particular parts of the map are.
Okay. So I think I got your point there. So with regards to the comment and with regards to your response, I would say that that sage is the guy that goes into the unknown territory, that land, with his knowledge of cliffs, his knowledge of tracking, his knowledge of the plants and animals, his knowledge of the seasons and the times and the rock formations and the landscape, all that stuff. He's going to go out there and he's going to contend directly with it. While the philosophers may send these birds to take these maps or kind of make conjectures as to what the contours of the land are, they're drawing the map. Like over here, there's a river. Maybe we do this, da 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 da. But this sage type is more of the shaman type that's just going to go out there and more directly, intuitively grok, feel, taste, and know what it is that he's dealing with, as opposed to a map of it. Now, is that a fair rephrasing of what you meant?
It is perfectly reasonable to assume that what you said is correct.
Oh, you're being an asshole today, huh? Okay, okay. Good one. Good one. So one thing about is also the distinction between what they call being a mystic on one hand, mysticism, you know, spirituality versus religion on the other hand, that kind of a thing. I would say that it's along the same lines. And the thing is that whenever I look at that demarcation, I usually just think experience. In other words, that one side tends to be more on the side of experience. The mysticism and the spirituality tends to be more on the side of experience, as in first person experience, first person subjective, spiritual consciousness experience, as opposed to the other side, which is more third person, perhaps text or propositional truth driven, and those kinds of other things. But neither here nor there, because our definition now is, well, how you contend with reality. How are you going to contend with, with reality? Okay. And people need to do this because people need to eat. They need clean water. Okay. They have certain needs that they have to satisfy, biological needs. They need safety, right? And in order to get these things done, you have to contend with the chaos out there that is in the world. And you're going to encounter systems and other peoples and so on and so forth. Boom, right? The whole saga of human life hits you right in front of your face. And then you may say things like, oh, I am not part of this particular crew. I'm not a go along to get along gang person, but I go join the Kwame Brown go along to get along crew. I may stand tall on top of privilege and talk about turning the other cheek to somebody who has no cheeks. Someone who has no cheeks. So that might be the case. That might be the case, ladies and gentlemen. So let me go ahead and see what we got going on here in the chat. 1 second. Or Mr. Ibrahim, did you have anything to add? I'm going to open up the panel.
In this case, the only thing that I can bring in lieu of what you have said is Carla Summers says, chaos is feminine. You should have many opportunities. I believe that chaos is a form of feminine energy represented in life. But to master chaos, you must have enough order to be able to know when you have gained enough. A good wisdom for a man who is going to be in a relationship with a woman, especially, is this. You must be the leader and you must take responsibility on the brunt end, but you must create an individual situation where your wife feels as though she is free to be her unique and full self so that she can then be able to support you. Because if you create a tyrannical state, as Jordan Peterson usually says, is that you will be putting yourself in a dire consequence, because tyranny is not acceptable. And tyranny does not mean you treat her bad, as in abuse. That is not the case here. Tyranny can be simply ruling over her psychological state and not acknowledging her for her own ego, her own mentality, and her own sense of self. You must continue that narrative.
Mm-hmm. Her own ego, her own mentality, her own sense of self, that narrative must be continued. Okay. And then there's something in the very beginning, as I'm a man of beginnings, right? And happy endings. I don't know why I said that, just felt like the right thing to say at the time. Now,
shout out to the Thai massage therapists.
Jesus Christ. That's very uncouth of you, sir. It's not even the Fulani women. You have to import them from Thailand into your dusty desert tent.
The issue with the Fulani women is that a man of my stature will be found with too many interests from them in order to join the harem. That is not acceptable.
Okay. So the idea is this. In the beginning of that whole exchange that you gave us just now about, well, in order for you to get help from this partner of yours, your wife, right? You need to, right, give her all the help first. Let me put it this way. And then the contradiction is, if you're the person that's powerful enough to give her what she needs, then how can you need anything from her? But that's the beauty of the compatibility, right? That's the beauty of complementarity, right? Is the sense that what a man is looking for from a woman, and it'll be on that inspirational end of things. Shout out to Kevin Samuels, FBI, feminine, beautiful, inspirational. It's on that inspirational end of things. It's on that marketing department end of things, that thing that makes the house the home end of things, right? So, but here is the scenario. You got to make her feel that as a result of, perpetuating her goals, her values, and so on and so forth, and presumably you've chosen, right? That she has your 100% backing and can relax into her role. And then conversely, you can get that cooperation and you can even do more because you have a solid base. It's almost like you feel like you have a base, someone in the corner that will always be there providing that thing which you know you're not good at, which is but the thing which is needed in life. The marketing department is needed in life. Warmth and filial feelings and holidays and cards and grandbabies, that's needed in life. But that's not my thing, okay? I don't do that crap, right? I'm out here doing man shit. So, but I need that stuff. And if I know that's kind of solidly taken care of, then I can even do more stuff. Is that more or less what you're saying? Or shall I say, is the scenario that I described, does it fit in your model? And the panel is open, ladies and gentlemen. And feel free to hop on while Jay Ibrahim struggles with his Fulani internet network and his microphone that has got cruddy from the dust out there in northern Nigeria or something, or some other part of sub-Saharan Sahara Desert. So I want to test your audio.
I believe it is fine.
There you go. There you go. There you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, feel free to hop on because we're having this conversation. How can you say that, hey, I am not a go along to get along person, but I go join a go along to get along group? We're just using that as an example to see the obvious, shall we say, contradictions in action that we inevitably find ourselves doing when it comes to groups. This is why I think that let me take another example. Solo TV 84, right? Solo TV 84 and Fresh and Fit. Okay. So when the Fresh and Fit thing was going on, I don't know what's going on now. I'm sure it's still going on. I'm saying it was going on or whatever that may mean. But when that whole thing was going on, okay, Solo TV 84, now called Trendsetter TV 84, the person who brought Fresh and Fit together, right? You know, that's kind of what he's known for. He's known for bringing many people together or into the space, right? Shout out to Solo. Friends with Fresh and Fit did certain things that out of friendship, right? And then later on criticized them. And I always believed in separating those two regards. And I think Dr. Thunder and I talked about it, right? In the sense that, look, if you're going to be this in-betweener type of person, okay, because I'm the kind of person, as I said, you know, I will hang out with the jocks and then hang out with the nerds and then hang out with the bad guys and hang out with this. And I was just, and the same kind of thing that I do all through my life, right? If you're going to be doing that kind of a thing, you're going to need to know how to separate the rules of friendship and the obligations of friendship versus the rules and obligations of a brand and stuff like that, right? That there's a way of representing for a friend in public while admonishing them in private, for example. But while that lingers in the ears, try to remember the kind of September. We have a guest in the building. Do you mind introducing yourself? I think you're listening to me on YouTube, and you should turn off the YouTube
Hello.
and listen on StreamYard. Hello, yes, sir.
All right, you can hear me. As pertaining to this topic, necessarily, what I'm going to say is, it's quite well known that the individual is faster than the group, you know. But they say the person, if you go alone, you walk faster, you get there faster, or you go faster. But if you go with a group, you last longer. I wonder if that's the word. If you walk with the group, you go further. But if you go by yourself, you walk faster, and that's the saying goes. So it's quite known the individual tends to perceive because he has time to sit and ponder and think about things, and in what's the word, in terms to look at things more introspectively when by himself. And the group don't have time because the group are too. It's a bit more slower. They're too gung ho. But that philosophical saying goes, yes. The group gets there further, but the individual gets it's faster at it. But if you want to get far, you go with the group. But I think it's an old proverb, African proverb. What do you say about that?
I think that, okay, so the first thing that always comes to mind when that proverb is repeated is, I wonder how far the individual got, right? And I also wonder how long it took the group, right? So they say, well, if you want to go fast, go alone. Well, how far can you go though? And then if you want to go far, go together. Well, how quickly? And it's like, if it's gonna take them 10 generations to get there, maybe I want to
Yeah.
just go as an individual and see how far I can get, right?
Yeah.
So that's the first thing that tends to come to mind, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I can't hear you very well because my sound. That's why it is. I can't really hear you. I don't know what's happening. But
Okay.
I that's something to ponder about. What you say? It comes to that where you must be quite selective, and as you said, you guys have alluded to it in the discussion. You must be quite selective and choosy, and maybe you might be a fence sitter once in a while. You can swing both sides as well. I mean, sometimes is it really a bad thing to go with the group if it's more suitable? Is it a bad thing? I think sometimes people must recognize that it's more better to go with a group, and sometimes you must be able to see you don't want to follow everybody into if they all falling into a ditch. You don't want to follow everyone there, so you must choose to partition yourself and walk your own way, isn't it?
Indeed. Now, Mr. J. Ibrahim, I don't know if you have anything to say about that. When you talk about the ditch, and I think that what we're trying to and what we've been doing mainly in the conversation is to try to recognize ditches because it's
Yeah.
not obvious in this landscape you're talking about, right? That image of, oh, don't follow ship over the cliff. It's like, yeah, it's easy to see cliffs, okay,
Yeah.
but in this landscape of the social landscape of human interactions, all those cliffs and the so on and so, they're not very clear, if you will. Now, Mr. J. Ibrahim, any thoughts on that going for the whole group versus individual thing? And my thing was to immediately show that, okay, well, there's both sides that you got to play, and advantages, and so on and so forth.
Mm.
Well, I have one thing I want to begin with. Young man, you appear that you are an African man. Am I correct?
Yes, most likely. Yeah.
However, you are carrying out a name and also an image of a Caucasian fantasy, which is Star Wars. Is this correct?
Yes, I am quite interested in the Star Wars lore.
But why is it that you have not gone together slowly with the other Africans and developed a much more striking fantasy and lore?
I see. You got me there. You got me there. You got me there. If you need to develop, sometimes you must partition yourself and you must improve and develop yourself as an individual. You don't bring the whole group along with yourself. Sometimes you must do it your own way as well. We're all individuals here as well.
Exactly. As long as you do not lose the ball of the game, which is that you have a particular purpose, you can take detours until you find the path that is most selective and effective for you.
Indeed. And I think we lost connection with the young man. And I like how you confronted him with the with that thing, and that he saw what you were doing there. Now, if I were to continue on that theme there about why not do, why not build, why not show, why not, in Nietzschean terms, create your own values, get the arrow, bend the bow of your spirit, and shoot a star into the heavens that will then guide you, right? What do you have to say about the, shall we say, feasibility of the average person to even participate in that activity?
Please, can you repeat the question? My internet faltered for a moment.
All you Africans out there with your with your shithole internet. Oh, we're just having a good time out here. To repeat the question, though, there is the go out there and create your own lore, go out there and maybe dig and find, and your sources of, shall we say, inspiration, shall we say, the mythopoetic, the arts, the stories, and so on and so forth. The lore, Lore, right?
Right.
I'm saying that this is very Nietzschean almost, right? That kind of creating of your own values, It takes a lot. On the one hand, there's a lot of creativity aspect to it, literally. I think that, anyways, not to, religion, for example, is the highest form of art. But how does one answer your own question, okay? And can the average individual even participate in this myth making, myth building, rebuilding of your own, shall we even say, religion activity?
Right. I would like to address the chats from Snapshot Review down to Miles. All of these conversations are interesting, and I would like to contend with each one because they would also be integrated in the way that I respond to your question. If you can put up Snapshots Review's comment, and I will read it.
I know, but he has several comments.
The most recent one, there is a lot of life lessons. There is a lot of life lessons to be learned from the expanded Star Wars universe. Snapshot, you are presenting an idea which is correct, and however, it is an idea of pragmatism. Because there is something that is useful in engaging in something that is somewhat destructive, does not mean that you are supposed to do it, nor does it mean you're not supposed to do it. The point here is that, yes, you can learn something from anything, but do you go forth and learn from everywhere? The next one is Amplified Returns comment. Your point. Maybe he isn't a storyteller. The point here is that he is a Pan-African because I have seen him on other panels before. And as a Pan-African, he is supposed to embody the cultural and philosophical stance of promoting African-centric ideals. Star Wars is filled with Caucasian fantasy where there are almost no Africans in that whole universe. Then the next one is by Miles. Wisdom says direction is more important than speed. So going alone faster is not a wise long-term strategy. This is a very good point. The point that we would make here is that you can go faster and you can go alone, but you must never drop the ball that you are trying to bring the whole group along with you. This is what happens to the celebrities. They go alone and they go fast and they become multimillionaire sports people, but many of them do not remember the ball and they do not create actionable, tenable ways for those in their communities to reach their position in ways that are dignified. If you can do both, it is ideal.
I was having a conversation recently, and I believe on the YouTube channel here, and we were talking about this idea of pushing the ball forward into the next generation. Because one can talk about things that happened in the past, and one can talk about how to get away from a mentality of lack, a, shall we say, scarcity mindset, right? How to get away from those people whom are just gonna keep reiterating the narrative and telling a story and repeating the same mistakes from past generations and thinking that there's no reason there's no way out, right? We talk about how you get out of that, and then how you try to not associate with those groups of people anymore because they're the source of that spirit of poverty, as they like to say in the churches, right? The spirit of poverty does exist, okay? And some of us know where it is and where to stay away from it. But then there was a question of how do you now make sure that the future generations can participate in your generational wisdom, generational wealth, generational stability, generational order, perhaps apt, or shall we say apropos to the topic today, generational order, or mitigating generational chaos, if you will. Now, in there, some practical things were said about how one can do that in terms of mate selection, for example, because we're talking about future generations. You're gonna need to procreate, and that's kind of what it's about. And it's all about a story, anyways. And if you're a black pill and want to be a nihilist, it's not something you have to do, right? and even if you're going to do it, you should do it with a black pill nihilist point of view, anyways, because I think that's the realist point of view to have. So, from your black pill nihilist pragmatic point of view, how does one create a future, if you will, that is not that is going to propagate generational wealth rather than generational poverty, generational sense of abundance rather than generational sense of lack and scarcity and fumbling the bag at every turn, if you will?
The most efficient way is to develop a class structure within your own race or your own group, depending what your particular problems you're facing is. You must create a class structure. Of course, classes are discriminatory by practice. However, this is the only way you are going to do it fast as a group, because if you build this class structure, you do not allow people who are not generally within a similar position to you from being able to marry your daughters or your sons. You then promote that culture as though it is superior. You will fail at circumstances. For example, if you present yourself as superior and when times are hard, either you ask for help or build strategic alliances, or you suffer and struggle across that time frame. There is a consequence though. You cannot be both a classist and then at the same time hope that when trouble comes, that they just offer their help without the shaming.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you may want to address the Star Wars stuff. Sounds like you and Mr. Pan-Africanist have prior engagements in other places, and you guys are doing some kind of philosophical tete-a-tete or whatever. It's like, oh, okay, because it seems like you guys are having a transtemporal conversation where you guys are catching each other on contradictions. Is what it looks like to me. And amplified return, is that what it sounds like to you too? It's like somebody caught somebody somewhere on some other channel saying something, and now you're over here being like, I see you here and you're doing that thing. I know what you did last summer. Is that what's going on? Jay Ibrahim.
No comment, but
really?
To answer the question, so a Pan-Africanist cannot appreciate Star Wars. You can appreciate it, but you must also have a greater appreciation for your own culture and its own narratives. Otherwise, you are failing at the game. The game here is for you to have your culture as the supreme cultural artifact. So if you're appreciating a different culture above your own culture, then you are failing at that game. If you believe in Oshun or other types of characters, then fine.
Ogun. Anyways. Ogun is my guy. Now, so let's answer the question also on here that says, and that's for me, because I was the one that said generational order. It's almost like an entropy question. Okay. I'm talking about a localized thing to sustain a particular mindset, a particular education that is going to be tracked by outcomes in a family. We said that there are certain families that some people might say have a generational curse, right? And that they seem to repeat these patterns over and over again. And that if you're in this Nigerian church in the corner of Siloko Road in Benin City, right, you're going to be talking about casting away the spirit of generational poverty and the spirit of poverty and whatever the local names are for it, right? Evirichi will be casted out too, right?
Which god were you speaking of Ogun? You're talking about the male deity.
Ogun is, you have Ogun, you have Shango, and these are the Yoruba, right? You have to be specific about it, right?
Right, but we also have Oshun, which is the Yoruba female deity.
Ogun is the dude.
Yeah, Oshun is his wife.
Yeah, blind guy, his wife, their life. But anyways, my point in terms of about generational order is the opposite of that family that seems to just repeat the bad patterns. How do you start and project into the future a family, right, that is gonna be more on the side of propagating the good behaviors than the bad behaviors? Now, adult supervision, if what I'm saying makes sense, click one there, because that's kind of what I meant. You have on this hand, okay, Uncle Bob's family, they fumble the bag, they have a scarcity mindset, they kind of never amount to crap, they believe in all kinds of crazy things and make excuses as to why they're not. And then you have this other family of go-getters. How do you instantiate that consciously, if you will, after you escaped Uncle Bob's family? How do you go and sire another kingdom over there? Shout out to you. You got the floor, you got the mic, sir. Can you hear me?
Are you talking to me? Oh.
Yes.
Oh, hi. You're right. Sorry, I didn't realize I was back on. All right. I'd quite like to unpack what Ibrahim was just saying about the caste system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it possible to have a caste system that doesn't oppress people?
J. Ibrahim, that's a very simple, very direct, very poignant question. He talked about any kind of system, any kind of hierarchy. Maybe I'm overgeneralizing now, but any hierarchy that can not be oppressive, is it possible?
Yes. Gay Polymath and Mad and Odra have developed a system which allows a society to be able to have a hierarchical structure based on class and other aspects, but is not oppressive. The reason why class becomes oppressive is because people do the group identity and they are not controlled. If you have a system where, let's say, you have a higher class and the lower class can still have every equal opportunity to be able to get ahead, it will not be oppressive.
Right.
For example, when you have a system whereby a child in America is born of poor parents, perhaps a single parent, that child suffers to be able to reach the equal ability in his resources. But in a country like in a Scandinavian place, the child has the ability to be able to, even working at McDonald's, still achieve the same in his future if he chooses that path. So as long as you do not make the child pay for the sins or lack of hard working of the parents, the system will still function correctly. If you want more details, I will give you the example of this plan. But yes, oppression is not necessary. What is necessary here is inspiration, because the class structure will inspire those who have been born by parents of the lower class to want to reach that higher class, but the movement potential will always be allowed.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's key. Otherwise, we would just be replacing one oppressive system for another, and I don't think as Black people we can afford that. I've been talking to quite a few people, and we've sort of been thinking about the state of our collective image and the way we are portrayed, particularly, well, all over the world, not even just the West, all over the world. Is there some sort of way to bring everything into line? And I've never heard anyone suggest that class system before. When I look at other groups and other religions, if I look at, say, for example, Sikhism as one example, there is a clear caste system there. But it doesn't allow, I don't think it allows for upward mobility, which I think is its downfall. But what you seem to be describing does. And I think there could be some sort of way of using that to help us sort of rise above the station that we're at. Because it doesn't matter if you're Black British, Black American, African, Caribbean, whatever, whether people want to like it or not, our collective image is treated as a monolith in the media, and we need to change that. And it's getting to a point where we're going to have to be a little bit strict about how we go about implementing that. And there are going to be some people that just ain't going to be cut out for it. And there's going to be some people that are going to welcome it. And our traditional enemies are going to do whatever they can to try and stop it. So I think it's a really interesting. I would like to read up some more on that. So if you have any links or any suggestions on how to research a little bit about what you said, I'd be very keen to expand my knowledge on learning about that.
So J. Ibrahim, how about you give that example that you alluded to? Give an example of this, of how that situation works.
Okay, so to the young brother, you can first start by reading Plato's Republic. This will give you a general idea of how this system can function. And then I'll leave you my email in the private chat and I can give you more links. Let's give an example of this kind of system. We know that every race, every group, every creed is competing with each other. You have the Sikhs, for example, and the Gujarati communities in Europe. If you look at the UK, how much people are earning, the Gujaratis and Sikhs are earning the most out of all the groups. If you look at them as a specific race, as Indians, the Pakistanis are earning much less. The Bengalis are earning even less. However, the Sikhs and Gujaratis who have that caste system are the ones earning the most. You look at Africans, perhaps the Nigerians are earning okay, but most Africans in general are not earning as much because we have been fed into this culture whereby many of our women are single parents. If you look at the simple math here, is that you must fix that problem. One woman cannot earn as much as even one man because the man can earn more because he is more built to work harder in general. So if you have one woman competing with two parents, that salary is already halved. So at that point, your child is going to grow in a way that he's going or she in living with poverty. So the first problem is to fix that problem, meaning the women must begin to ostracize women who are not married by choice. If it's a widow, perhaps the husband died or was abusive, that is a different circumstance and it must be known and clear. But if she simply didn't marry the right guy because she was not attracted to him, this cannot be allowed in that class structure. So there is going to be some sacrifice. Sacrifice is the feelings of those who are shamed. Now, if you create this system, the women will marry the right guys, and then the guys will marry the right women because they have something to learn and earn from that system. Because you then begin to teach the men through ancient African traditions. If you go to the Maasai culture, when the man is of age, he must go and kill a lion. This is symbolizing that he must take responsibility to feed the family. The woman goes through her own rituals where she learns what it means to sacrifice herself for the family as a woman. These cultural artifacts must be inculcated back into this class structure, and those who have learned these things can therefore create businesses, opportunities for each other, but they must always allow those that are from the lower class to be able to enter as long as they are willing to inculcate the ideas of this system. This will then propagate, perpetuate across time, and generally, you will have a society of successful Black families. If you look at the UK, for example, majority of the doctors by race are actually Black and Asian in terms of the proportional representation. In America, the Blacks are very underrepresented. In Saudi Arabia, the Nigerians are overrepresented as doctors. We have a lot of skillful people, but we do not have a system that can bring them all together into a particular narrative and separate them from all the negative stereotypes. That is the part of the key of changing this narrative, which then creates an economic viability of trade.
That was phenomenal, man. That was wow. You've given me wow. That could work. That could actually work because it's only going to be relevant for those that see a value in it. So anyone who doesn't, sorry, you want to write yourself off. That's up to you. But and I know that might sound harsh, but it's getting to a point where it feels like we got to take some sort of drastic or some new thinking and new ways to implement things. And I'm thinking that this might be something that we need to consider. The problem is, well, one of the problems, a lot of Western women with Western modern women, I think a lot of them are going to push back on a lot of the things on it because they are so brainwashed and hypnotized by toxic feminism and all of the chaos and that stuff's bringing. So it's going to be, but then again, I guess once again, it's only for whoever finds it relevant and actually sees the value in it. But I think that could work. Wow, man, you've really inspired me. That's really interesting.
So, Jay Ibrahim, you mentioned something. Well, obviously, you mentioned a lot of things. Towards the end there, you talked about putting together this talent, this pool of resources, this group, herding them into one narrative and separating from the detrimental, negative, if you will, narratives, the existing ones that are out there, right? So there is a cutting off, a separation, and so on and so forth. But first of all, there is this coming together aspect, which I find might be primary in this case. Now, the challenges to the coming together become immediately relevant as a question. And one of the challenges is individual hyper individualism and tribalism amongst, shall we say, native, indigenous populations. In this case, if you take the African population, the black population, Africa diaspora, so on and so forth. That the narrative is, there's a lot of individualism / tribalism that make it such that we cannot cooperate and come together. Is that true? And what is to be done about that?
You're bringing in a very, very high level concept right now. But before that, let me address a point the brother and also Amplified Return Tops said. How will women be persuaded to shame other women for making bad life choices in the women empowerment era? In this case, there are many ways to do this. If you're a man, you can find a passport and marry the woman who has these ideals already instilled in her. There are still some countries with some people who do this. If enough men go and do this, what will happen is women, of course, love to be married and love to have children. This is one of the things that encourage them. They are more relationship focused. So they will change immediately because they'll realize that if I want a man of value, a man who is on a purpose, they are going to have to fall in line and do the right thing as the culture now dictates. The only reason women are broken as they are right now is because the culture incentivizes them to do so. It is not because women are bad people. It is because the culture is incentivizing them that way. Now, to answer your question, many indigenous communities, although they act as though they're collectivists, are actually truly individualists. Let me give you an example. Many African tribes operate on individual scale as opposed to seeing themselves as one race. They see themselves as a particular tribe. I am Yoruba, I am Fulani, I'm Somali, I'm Kikuyu, I'm Amharic. Now, what this means is intrinsically, they're not able to easily share their ideas together as a collective. So how do you go about this? You simply create a game that they can all participate in, that they're all going to win in that game in a large manner. It becomes cool to be African in the UK and in Germany and in other parts of Europe when Afrobeats became popular. So in the same way, you create this scenario where you Ike your family and your children, where the man in this case builds his own family and children, therefore began to network, create a group, you call it a certain name, and you promote it and perpetuate it. The same way Black Lives Matter and its way into the masses, into the zeitgeist, is the same way you can do this. You just have to be able to be strategic about this. And then the women will fall in line because they are threatened with other women from other cultures because they ultimately want to be married. They will then begin to teach each other how to find a man of value.
Okay, so getting that thing going seems like it's definitely a tall order. Not so, I'm not very optimistic, generally speaking. I'm more in for just going out there, taking advantage of some chaos, seeing what kind of you can make out of it. See if you can start some kind of individual little island dynasty, perhaps. Maybe you fail, maybe you don't, or maybe you freaking run to Mars, to the new frontier, and start capitalism all over again. But that being said, any to our guest, any reactions to what J. Ibrahim has added to the conversation?
I guess kind of a little bit like what you've just said. Like, it's going to be a tall order to sell the masses on it, but then again, you know, it's one of those things where it's only going to needs to be relevant for the people who agree with it. We ain't got time to be trying to pitch it to people that are just gonna join it and undermine it and this, that, the other. And every time we form official groups or pop up people to be leaders, they either get infiltrated or the leaders get taken out. So we can't be moving like that anymore. I feel as though these principles can operate on their own in whichever small communities and localities that there are, and then that there are across the world, and then it just slowly grows up because you will learn about who else is doing what you're doing in other areas, and it will grow organically that way. And that way it can thrive without at risk of it becoming corrupted or it being taken over. Or, you know, there are a lot of prominent people that look like us in the mainstream media and who we assume to be in positions of authority to get stuff done, but they're just there to undermine us. So by not giving them a target to latch onto would give this philosophy or this new way of being more of a chance to flourish, I think. I don't think it's something that needs to be established because it will just get taken over. I think there are people that profit from keeping us in the position that we're in, and we shouldn't give them a chance.
There is whenever it gets to this point in the conversation, I always want to go back to the practical. So the practical here is, okay, there's this cutting off, separation. It's only you put it in the sense of only the percentage for which it is useful. Does it kind of matter? And then I will have to then ask, and maybe J. Ibrahim, let me ask you this: isn't there a question of critical mass here? Does it matter if, you know, you, me, and whomever are doing whatever we're doing? And it may be fine for us as all that individualism talk. I'm also an African too, and I 100% admit to all my individualism and my greedy, bastardly behavior. Okay, but in other words, isn't there a question of critical mass for any of these group-like sociological conversations to make sense? Even if it doesn't get to a certain number, then we're just talking about individuals again.
I kind of feel like you can't save everyone, or you'll just end up saving no one.
What's the percentage?
I don't know. I don't know that it comes down to a percentage like that. There are going to be people out there that just A, don't want to know, B, aren't in a position to even think about it because their lower level needs aren't met. You know, it's going to be very hard for us to pitch this idea to someone who is struggling to keep a roof over their head, or someone who is looking for employment. You know what I mean? There is going to be some people that you just won't be able to do. And it's not, I don't think it's necessary that everyone comes along with it, especially not at the beginning. Eventually you'd hope that it would grow, but groups and societies and stuff, like if you trace them back long enough, they do kind of start with a select few and then grow outward. And, you know, if this is going to be something that people want to start to adopt and they're at the start of that journey, you got to kind of take it like the beginning is going to be a bit of a lonely path, but hopefully people see you doing well and being about it and, you know, of curious and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully they'll then come along. If each one teaches one, you can then sort of inspire other people to come along. But I don't think getting hung up on trying to get a fixed number of people to follow along with you, and if no one's following along with you, you shouldn't do it. I don't think I don't think that that's so important. I just think, especially for a man and a woman, if as long as you two are on the same page and you can instill some of those values into your children, and then maybe you find another partner that think another couple that feel the same way, and maybe their kids and your kids might in the future get together and that sort of stuff, and you just start building it up from there. I just don't think we can really think about getting numbers in at this stage, especially when we're still trying to work out the philosophy. But maybe Jay Ibrahim's got another perspective on that.
And also, Jay Ibrahim, if you could address also what's on the screen, because I think it's also relevant. The idea of, you said the culture, which which generally one agrees with. Women are the most social of the group. And if there are any women in the chat, just hit a 1 in the chat if you agree with me that it is indeed number one. Proposition number 1, men and women generally are different. Proposition number 1. Proposition number 2, one of the differences are in the realm of being social, right? Men or women concern themselves more with the social games, the fairness games, the everyone needs to eat games, right? And the making the house the home with warmth and all that stuff games, right? So women are more that way. Hence, women get affected by social trends and winds and stuff more. So when Jay Ibrahim says, hey, it's the culture, it's not that the women are bad, it's that it's the culture. It makes sense because, well, women are going to flow, generally speaking, with the culture. Shout out to Jordan Peterson. One way to put this is that whole women just wait to see who won the race and they pick from the winners, right? In terms of the men's race, the hierarchy race. They're not in the business of dictating what the race should be. You know what I mean? So if the particular political order, economic order is rotten and corrupt and, they're just going to go with, it's not their place to be worrying about that. Hence, the question below is relevant. In addition to, what the guest said about percentages and so on and so forth, critical mass, blah, 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 right? The question below, bringing someone from somewhere else, right? And also because we've mentioned something that is tangential to this when we talked about the become a king then. Let's say you become this king, right? And you're a high value man anywhere in the world. Then it doesn't matter where you take her, because when you're doing certain things, when you're in an individual cocoon, that little cocoon has its own climate, if you will. You're able to shelter the woman from certain outside influences because she's not necessarily she doesn't see anything interesting out there anyways. So that's one solution to the question. That's the trivial solution. That's the easy one. Just be Superman and you don't have to worry about anything. But Jay Ibrahim, any thoughts on what was said, everything I've just laid out so far, including what's on the screen?
Let us begin by talking about the question by Miles Nevison, who is to say the women in Africa we wife up don't get affected by the same feminist Western mindset. I have seen African men marry women, bring them to the West, and the woman buys into Western mindset. This is completely correct, especially in Canada and the UK and parts of Germany and Holland. But let me break this down further. This is majority Western African women whom were not seeking a relationship for the reasons of procuring family, but were seeking a way out of poverty. The men who traveled to these places presented themselves as though they had money. They bought these women's iPhones or other things, such as expensive clothes, $500 trinkets, and these women expected that this is the common way that they would treat them. The moment they land, they see that this man is a security man, or this man works in a cleaning service, or this man does not have any form of official job, professional standard. So, of course, women being hypergamous, they would rather be with a man who has more. If, however, you have a connection, I have many experiences of Fulanis and also other Africans, such as some from the Kikuyu tribe, or some other Buganda or Sahelian tribe in Mali who have gone there, found a particular church and or mosque, found a woman who they can meet the family, they can truly communicate, interact with them, and are not looking for women who are above their station. If you're a 35-year-old man, you can get a woman who's between 20 and 30. If you're a 50-year-old man, do not seek a 20-year-old because she's not in the same mindset as you. Perhaps marry a 28-year-old. The problem is a lot of the matching is also falsified. I have many friends who have many successful relationships because they chose the right path in seeking this woman. If you seek a woman from abroad, you must be even more careful in seeking the right one who wants to support you, build something. She understands and has been brought up in a particular manner. That will be the woman to bring back to the West. Do not fall for the same problem of choosing an average woman who is easily affected by the culture, because you'll be in the same problem. Find a woman who has been programmed by a culture that is good, perhaps a particular type of Islam, a particular type of Christianity, and she believes in it, not just as a cultural artifact, but truly believes in it.
I see. And shout out while I go ahead and change the battery on this camera here, and with my avatarless deal over there. But any other questions, comments, concerns, or final thoughts to the guest, and then myself and Jay Ibrahim, perhaps we could start wrapping this up.
No, I think that was really good, very well explained. Yeah, if you could send through that stuff, that'd be great. I just wanted, I think I saw a comment where someone was asking me what did I mean by toxic feminism, and I was just sort of like just saying, like, some of the way the feminist movement has moved now, it's almost trying to tell women they can be empowered by being counter to their nature, and those women are going to be harder to reach with this particular mindset because they don't seem to want to take any leadership from men, and they just sort of would be a hard demographic to kind of sell this kind of idea to, which is kind of why I'm just saying you really do need to seek out someone who is on board with what you're thinking, and then just worry about what you're doing and then grow it from there. But yeah, I think that's all I had to say on it, really.
100%. All right. And thank you very much for stopping by.
No worries.
Hopefully you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe.
I'm a subscriber. I am.
All right. Well, thank you very much, sir. So, Mr. Ibrahim, any closing thoughts on this very wide-ranging set of topics which we have had today? Everything from contending with chaos to the chaos, let's just say chaos is everything. And the chaos of bringing home women from foreign places, the chaos of taking a stand, the chaos of being an individual in a group, the chaos of trying to think based on principles, the chaos, right? Any final thoughts, any overtures?
No comment.
No comment, says he. Okay, let me go ahead and this camera is not going to behave itself right now because I'm in the middle of streaming, and I guess that's just what it does. But in the spirit of the holiday, in the spirit of the day off, I'm going to casually see if I can get it to work. But no, it seems to be adamant about it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you very much for showing up, for spending that time with us, having this conversation. About chaos. You like my pause there, Jay Ibrahim? Especially without the camera, you get sweaty palms. So, ladies and gentlemen, shout out to the chat, those who participated in the chat and those who listened quietly. If you are new, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Also, hey, go ahead, like it, share the video, share it with your WhatsApp group, share it in your text messages, share it in your YouTube channel, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to Adult Supervision, Greg O, Young Swift, always holding it down, Blind Guy, his wife, their life, the super chatters that I can remember, K Polymath, I believe, held it down for sure. Held it down for sure, held it down for sure. So let's see. Let's see. Can I go out with a freestyle? Huh. I ain't got a beat. I don't have a beat, but you know what? Hey, Jay Ibrahim, are you still there? Are you still with us, sir?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, let me do this. I'm gonna find a beat, and I'm gonna try to go find a lo-fi beat, and then we can go out with a freestyle. What do you say, Aaron B? Do we go out with a freestyle? I don't have a microphone on. I mean, I don't have a camera working, but I think I could get a freestyle beat to work. But speaking of the camera as well, I'm going to try to solve that problem as well. But go ahead, Jay Ibrahim, what do you got to say?
Unfortunately, I have got to go to exercise.
There you go. Take care of that business, sir. I'm going to figure this one out. Hold on there 1 second while I go over here. Let me see. You leave the stream. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's see. It should come up, but it does not. Okay, it should come up, but it does not. So I will go ahead. Said, damn, I didn't rap. Well, I'm not gone yet. Gotta wait a second while I pull up the lo-fi beat. I had to try something there for a second. Shall we say copy, right, free, lo-fi. Hip-hop beats. We're gonna try it live, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna try it live. Let's see how this works. Mm-hmm. All right. Let me go ahead and try to share this. Right, we go. Woo-hoo. Yeah. We got this. We got a window over here. Now let's go ahead and share a Chrome tab. The Chrome tab. I'll show you the window. This. I think we stop it. And bear with us, ladies and gentlemen, as we build this freestyle machine from the other side. From the other side, I tell you. All right. Let's see. So I'll just go ahead and do it a simple screen thing there, share. Can I get a 1 in the chat if you guys can hear the volume? Can the volume be heard? Can the volume be heard? Ibrahim beatboxed. All right. Some cuss words might come out because, you know, when you're going off the dome like that. And I'm going to try to go 1.25 speed. Let me speed it up a little bit. Okay, just because. All right. How's that speed for you? You know? Hey. TKO, Tanya, we pay yo the homage. Coming through like my name was Nostradamus or Aphrodamus. I'm coming through like the pain was sipping on some hummus, but then I'm back on the track. Back-to-back beats, back-to-back streets from the heat. Sub-Saharan Africa, all the way to Attica. Yeah, that's the way that I be batting. Yeah, my batting average. Yeah, I'm a savage. Come through like my name was the other one, the other son born from the other god. Yeah, in my backyard where I bury bodies and I laugh hard. Ha, you don't wanna act hard, cause you know you can't catch the check. Ha, ha, ha. Anyways, let's see while we get the bars going. Ha. While we get the bars going, while we get the bars flowing, we get the beat growing, we get the crowd showing the love, showing above from up above, where the heavens render the motherfucking blessings. Learn lessons, yes, and take sessions in the back of the bus, the back of the trust, the back of the must is where they rise through with the motherfucking sky, son. Yeah, don't be high, son. Stay low, stay grow, and stay broke. Don't stay broke and dusty. You must trust me. Huh. Get the little husky as you walk through the town. Huh. Smoking on some brown. Huh. Anyways, you know how we do it. We're just getting things going. How's everybody doing this memorial? Is it not? I forget what holiday it is. Forgot what holiday it is again. I forgot what hot beats. Hot beats like the roly-poly. I'm coming through like the holy roller. Yeah, you don't know me, homie, but I back up the truck from the next day. The next way is the next way. How can I sway this to my benefit? You don't want to tell of it, cause I got the hell of it intelligently. Built like a Bentley. You don't want to test me, evidently. You met me on the other side of the parking lot. Yes, my name is Karkarat. That's Dragon Ball Z type lyrics. You don't want to test me when I hit you with the spirit. That's the spirit bomb. Yeah, it goes boom. And then I see you soon. Like my name was the typhoon going through the tsunami of Japan, the islands. Like my name was Feynman. I'd be cracking the equations. Yes. Cracking the equations. And I stay blessed. I stay blessed off the stress that I invest when I contest. Ha! Anyways, I'm back on the many ways, many trains, many bays. I got N-E-N-I, come through with the F-E-F-I. You don't want to test my style. Hey, I don't remember what day it is again. Shout out. We're getting warmed up. We're doing the damn thing. All right. I think, it's Labor Day. Young Swift said he wanted to test me on the mic. He wanted to best me on the mic, so I got my breastplate and my Teflon. Teflon and brass on the breastplate. Checkmate, that's the best way to ride with the hex, man. And telepathically. Telepathically, spit game at your heifer. Telepathically, spit game at your heifer. Telepathically, spit game at your heifer. Whether any weather, I weather the storm, weather the form, weather the horns. And I put it on my head, cause I got the crown, got the brown, got the ground. And I'm never giving it up, living it up. I'm litting it up, like, stay litty. Stay litty like my name was Ramil Lemaire. 16-ounce beer, pour it in the cup. You know what I'm saying? Word them up. All right. About to land the plane, about to hop from the plane to the train at the airport. Got the clear port, yeah, and therefore I will get in the Uber back to the hotel. That's where the CUDA will meet me with the beats and the microphones for the freestyle flow. It's freestyle, yo, the freestyle show. You know how we do it. Yeah, your girl, she's a freestyle hoe. I had to say it because the rhyme intended that I do. I come through when I play Tenchu like Tekken on the PS1. Yeah, I BS, son. I BS sometimes when I come through with the sunrise or sunset. You must bet on the one, must bet the underground will under sun. Bury you under with the thunder and lightning. Come through, you know I keep it tight, man. I got the tight lean and the Benzino. You don't want to see because I got the endo in the back of the truck, the back of the pack. You know what I'm saying? Hey. I gotta recharge, you can't see far. I'm puffing on the cigar with the guitar cause I'm blind. Yo, I got the Heinzman. You don't wanna see me when I run from here to Aspen. But Action Jackson, you can ask them. In the beat of Freestyle Mondays. Is it Mondays or is it Sundays? I come one way on the YouTube streets. Yeah, that's the fun way, the gunplay any day, anytime. Anyway, any rhyme, yeah, I got many lines for days, lines of rays, right, the rays of the sunset, the rays, cause the guns will bet on the back of your head, yes, and they will set the back of your dreads, blowing asunder, and then you might wonder with an open mind, cause your brain is open and it's sloping. Yes, you be coping, but no more. You be coping with no flaws. I keep a wet shirt. I got a wet shirt and a wet floor. I got the network to make your neck jerk with the net force. Anyways, we're just gonna slide out like